difficult circumstances is the Seminole County Sheriff's Department. They have been very kind to us. They have been very encouraging. I talked with them maybe about a month ago, and I had a situation, and they came out immediately. So I thank them for what they have done and are still doing for us. That's the end of this, because again, I could be up here all day telling you about my project, but I have 2 videos that I think will explain it. And I'd like to say also, we have a partnership with the Riches Program, where we are gathering oral histories, and we have quite a few on our YouTube channel. But anyway, again, this is, I thank Ms. Giles, because again, this has been a difficult journey, but like I tell everyone kiddingly, that I could build a city now with what we have done. So I thank you, and thank you, Ms. Giles, for helping me with the process, and thank you very much.
All right. This is the story of the historic Oviedo Colored Schools Museum. Did you know the colored school in Jamestown was called the Gabriella Colored School? At its inception in 1918, it was part of a collection of approximately 6 colored schools within the Oviedo area: Oviedo, Colaquí, Gabriella, Wagner, Geneva, and Chiliota. To learn more, please visit our website at hocsmuseum.org. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Smith. Oh, we got another one. That was 2 separate ones already.
So I grew up very much enmeshed in the colored school system, because I was always helping my mom with her papers and things of that sort. And again, since she was an educator, we were always involved in things, going to meetings with her. Also, my dad worked for Nelson and Company at the fertilizer plant. So he, which was located in downtown Oviedo, and now it's going to be a historic district called the Water Tower District. So our town was very much centered around the citrus industry, because that's what drove the community.
As a kid growing up, we were the baseball capital of Central Florida. We had a really good baseball team from the older guys that played baseball in Zellwood. That was the highlight of the weekend, especially on Sunday, attending a baseball game, and after the baseball game, they would have a big fish fry. All you could eat, everybody contribute to the fish fry.
Some of the other fond memories, school lunches were always home-cooked meals, and they were the best food on earth. Also, playground time, I just loved it, because we had all of these playground equipment, toys, merry-go-rounds, swings, seesaws. You just had fun for the time that we were outside. And then, of course, the music classes with my mom on Fridays, absolutely amazing.
just mostly oranges and celery. And that's all people did, pick fruit and cut celery. And when my grandfather had his, he had some of the high school students to come in and work after school so they can have extra money or whatever. And after that, after everything started getting so big, he didn't do celery and thing anymore because, he was just a small farmer and they were big farmers with, the Wheelers and the Evans and, different ones at that time. But that's what everybody started doing, picking fruit and, working on the farms out with celery and whatever. Yeah, but we all grew up here and knew everybody and whatever. So this is my home, and I guess this is where I'm going to stay. I'm not going anywhere else. And this street, Avenue B, used to be Tyson Street.
Oh.
Because Mr. Johnny Tyson had a store right down here where the church is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was the first black grocery store here in Oviedo, as I remember. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the end of it?
That's it.
Well, thank you very much. Great presentation, good history lesson. Thank you, Ms. Smith. All right, let's go to public input and participation. Do we have any speaker forms on this matter?
Yes, sir. We have one speaker, Bill Hyde.
Mr. Bill Hyde, if you'd come down. And while you're coming down, I was given a written public comment form on this matter from Richard Reap at 2707 Chelsea Street, Orlando, Florida, 32803, that says, I'm in support. This approval will allow workforce development and of tourism in Seminole County. For the record, if you'll pass that down to the clerk.
There you go, Commissioner Constantine.
Thank you. Mr. Hyde, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Bill Hyde, live at 2379 Audley Street in Oviedo, and I'm here and actually can say that I'm here to speak on behalf of the Hyde family. I have permission to be here. I remember the hole in the roof, and I know Commissioner DeLaurie knows the hole in the roof. Everybody in the community does. And I remember when Judith first started talking about it, and it was like, I don't know, man. Well, give credit where it's due. Judith has brought this project of her own energy and dynamic personality to get it here, and I'm really hoping for the community that you guys can help any way you can to move this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde. Any other speakers on this matter?
No, sir.
Very good. We'll close public input, and we will go to board action. This is Commissioner DeLaurie's district. Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman, I'd first like to ask staff a question. Thank you, Joy. And I want to compliment staff, and I'll talk about the project in a minute, but I want to compliment staff about working with the applicant to this degree. There was a problem with this piece of property called parking, and you've came up with a rather unique way to solve that, and I want to compliment you on that. But there is one slight little issue with it. It's tied to Exhibit B, which is the remote parking, which I understand, and I totally support it. That's not my issue. My issue is that in a later date, if things do change with that other property owner, they'll have to come back to the board. So what I'd like to do is put an amendment to this, that if there is changes to Exhibit B, that it can be changed administratively, as long as it meets the intent of where it is here today with the amount of parking. That way they don't have to come back to the board for another public hearing.
Yes, sir. Commissioner, I can add that as a condition of approval
Okay.
to the development order.
It's just giving the property owner and the school a little more flexibility, so if something does happen, they don't have to come back to the board to have another public hearing. They can work it out administratively, as long as they meet the intent of what that agreement says today.
Okay, very good. I can definitely add that if it is a motion, it is approved.
I'd like to have an interpretation and from the county attorney so that everybody's aware of what that may or may not mean.
Is this the agreement?
We are looking at it right now.
Okay.
Give me like
20 seconds to
Sure.
look at this
Are you
agreement
making
again
a
really
motion?
quick.
Is
My
that what you're
concern,
doing?
just,
I'm making an amendment to this, and I'll make a motion.
Typically, we make a motion, then we get a second, then we have discussion, but I would
Well,
like to carry on.
I've not yet made the motion to approve this, but I want to make sure that that's in this DO.
And condition F does touch on that slightly.
Go ahead, Joy.
Sorry?
I'm sorry. Condition F in the development order does touch on that slightly, but we could add more language to that.
That's what I thought. Commissioner Herr.
I just wanted to point out that, Ms. Smith, the hole in the roof sounds an awful lot like my mother. You reminded me of my mom today.
Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting
Mr.
for
Constantine.
Yeah, Ms. Smith, I just want to compliment you. I mean, I know this is his historical significance, and that you have brought forward this and worked so hard on it. And I just, for the sake of purposes, because some people at an event that I went to recently said, why would you use the word colored? And I suggested to them and told them that that was what you, because of your historic significance, wanted it to be called. So I wanted to make sure that that was for the record. If anybody had any questions at all about it, thank you for what you do.
okay, going back to Commissioner Delari's suggestion, I don't know that the amendment is necessary. The parking agreement that they have is between the applicant and the church, so we wouldn't have any say in amending that, but staff has included a provision in the development order that if at any time the parking agreement is terminated, the museum operations shall cease until another parking agreement is provided, and that agreement has to be provided to the county for review and approval. Is your comment that it should be administratively approved?
My issue is I want it to be administratively approved instead of having another public hearing.
Okay, so we can add the word administratively into condition F, 3F.
Okay. So with that, Mr. Chairman, do I need to make a motion to amend the original DO?
3F, yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to amend the original DO per the county attorney's recommendation
Of 3F.
Second.
of 3F.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like signs? Seeing none, carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr.
And you'll
Chairman.
work with the applicant and staff?
Yes, can I just clarify it?
Sure.
The motion that was just made was to amend the DO. It wasn't technically. Okay, so we still need a motion.
I'm going to get there.
Got it.
I promise you I'm going to get there. Just give me 20 seconds.
She's just checking.
I get paid to worry.
Commissioner?
So, Mr. Chairman, I believe there's two motions that is going to be requested. So first, the first motion I have is I believe that there's significant evidence at this public hearing to identify the portions of this in the comprehensive plan and move to adopt a request of a small future land use amendment of medium-density residential to plan development as presented here today. That's the first motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign? Carries unanimously.
Okay, before I make the second motion, which is the final piece, Judith, I know you're getting a lot of accolades here, but that's just a small piece of the credit you should be receiving. You've always had the can-do attitude, and your journey is, as you said, has only begun. And you may have said it's a long journey, but you start a long journey with one step at a time, and you have many more steps ahead of you. So I want to congratulate you on all the wonderful things that you've done, and I look forward to all the wonderful things you're going to be doing in the future. And I can't wait till this thing is open so that we can all celebrate that. So with that, Mr. Chairman, based on the staff's finding and testimony and evidence received here today at this public hearing, I find a request and identifies the portion of the Seminole County Land Development Code move to adoption of the request of the rezone from R1 single-family dwelling to PD in associated development order and master plan development as presented here today and changed.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign? Seeing none, carries unanimously. Congratulations, Judith. All right, we appreciate you being here, and with your obvious stamina and fortitude, as you did when you were an elected official in Oviedo, you've pushed this through, so congratulations. All right, folks, next item is we're going to move to our county attorney's report.
I have no report today, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, how convenient. Next is our county manager report and staff presentations. We have the fluoride update. Mr. County Manager, are there anything else from you for reports?
Just one other thing before Mr. Edwards comes up to the podium. I just want to announce our Citizens Academy kickoff. It actually kicks off this month, and the first one is at our fire department station number 11 this Saturday. So it's an open house, so we'd like for you to sign up, but you don't have to. You can show up, but we have a whole host of departments that will be showing what we do here every day to serve the residents in the business community. So we're excited about the new program that our communications department, led by Mr. Chris Patton, has put together with our directors.
Great, very
And
good.
if I
Thank
can,
you very
Mr.
much.
County Manager, Station 11 is on Ronald Reagan Road in Altamont Springs,
That is correct.
There we go.
Right next to the Sunrail station.
Right next to the Sunrise.
And I believe in Commissioner, is it Lockhart's district? I just had to throw that one in.
Listen to him, on the edge.
Yeah, it's right on the border.
We're splitting hairs. We're splitting hairs.
Very well. All right, anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Edwards, you're here to give us a fluoride update. And I will say, for the benefit of those that are here today, there's many folks that are here and requested to speak on this matter. We will give you an opportunity to speak. We will adhere to the board's rules, which is 1 hour of input in total on each agenda item maximum. So when you get ready to speak, I'll give you some additional rules, but let's get through the presentation and we'll get you folks up here. Mr. Edwards, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Johnny Edwards, the Seminole County Utilities Director, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity today to talk to you about community water fluoridation. But if you would permit me just a brief moment, I would like to call attention to the maybe recognize how sweet it is to bring home another national championship to the great state of Florida. Tremendous art and effort. Go Gators! Go Gators!
Okay.
So was that because they had fluoride? I didn't have fluoride.
No comment. Obviously, we're not here today to talk about college basketball. The purpose of today's presentation is to provide a brief update to the Board of County Commissioners about community water fluoridation. Our agenda, just to talk briefly, to put some organizational context, wanted to talk about Seminole County Utilities responsibilities, some background information about community water fluoridation, and some operational considerations. Seminole County, our utility, we own. The county owns 5 water treatment plants and several water distribution systems. We treat the water to comply with state and federal drinking water standards, verify compliance through sampling and analysis. We get permits that allow us to do this, as any community water system needs to do. We submit compliance reports to the regulatory agencies and also our customers. What we do not do, this county does not generate toxicity reports, health studies. We do not establish the drinking water quality standards or health advisory levels. There are numerous other organizations that deal with those topics. Most notably, the United States Environmental Protection Agency promulgates primary and secondary drinking water standards, and in Florida, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection adopts those standards. And that is the primary agency that regulates and provides oversight over community water utilities in Florida. The Florida Department of Health we look to for guidance and advisories, but there are numerous other organizations, both governmental and non-governmental, that provide science, that conduct studies to support those standards and the guidance and advisories. I listed a few here. The National Institutes of Health, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and the Department of Health and Human Services National Toxicology Program, just to name a few. Going back in history, I wanted to provide a chronology, a brief background. Community water fluoridation became a public health initiative shortly after World War II. In Grand Rapids, Michigan, it was the first city in the United States to fluoridate their water supply in 1945. They reported a 60% reduction in cavities in children born thereafter. The Florida Department of Health officially endorsed community water fluoridation in 1949, so just a few years later. But in 1956, we have CREST that endorsed by the American Dental Association as the first cavity preventing toothpaste because of the fluoride included therein. In Seminole County, according to DEP records, we started fluoridating our water supply in 1988. I believe that is when the county first bought a water utility and got into the utility business. 2008 was the oldest record that we could find when it was discussed with the Board of County Commissioners, the topic of fluoride. At that time, there were supply chain concerns, but it was decided to continue fluoridation at that point. In 2015, the Florida Department of Health responded to federal changes in federal guidance by lowering the fluoride recommendation in water from 1 milligram per liter to 0.7 milligrams per liter. And the concerns noted for that change revolved around fluorosis, staining of teeth, bone deformities, gastrointestinal problems, and concerns with joint pain. Moving up to last year, in August, a national toxicology program study reported moderate confidence of inverse relationship between fluoride exposure and children's IQ. On the heels of that release of that report, a federal court in California finally ruled against the U.S. EPA, citing substantial and scientifically credible evidence establishing that fluoride poses a risk to human health, and the judge ordered the U.S. EPA to regulate that unreasonable risk. Shortly thereafter, in November of last year, the Florida Department of Health revised their guidance. It now recommends against community water fluoridation, citing numerous studies worldwide and associated risk resulting from total fluoride dosage and risks of lower IQ in children, increased risk of ADHD, decreased child inhibitory control and cognitive flexibility, increased child neurobehavioral problems. The American Dental Association and the CDC continue to advocate and put press releases indicating their support for community water fluoridation and list studies that indicate it reduces dental caries in children. I had to look up dental caries. Apparently that means tooth decay. That's the scientific term. The CDC, interestingly, some recent changes at the federal level. I read last week, I think it was, that their oral health division has been eliminated. So changes at the CDC. I also read that Health and Human Services, as recently as yesterday, is convening a task force to review the use of fluoride in community water systems. And EPA, in response to changes in the administration and the court ruling, is also reviewing their standards. I spent a lot of time trying to look at the science that's available out there. There's very differing opinions. One common theme that I saw in the reports that I saw, there were a lot of concerns that the data is limited and it's old. These are in the results of a lot of the studies that I read. One report specifically indicated that the benefits of community water fluoridation have been diminishing since approximately the 70s because of the prevalence of fluoride products on the shelves in the stores that we shop at. Specifically, you can find fluoride in toothpaste, mouthwash, gels, floss, varnishes, drops, chewing gum, and bottled water. One of the concerns that I've read numerous times is maybe the adverse impact on the lower income segments of the community due to the availability of fluoride if community water fluoridation were to be stopped. I went to my favorite superstore recently, just wanted to look for myself. What is on the shelves? Lots of varieties, lots of manufacturers, lots of products. Every single toothpaste on the shelf indicated that it contained fluoride. I took a picture of the least expensive, normal size tube of toothpaste. It's got the ADA stamp on it. It indicates it has fluoride. Looks cost effective. Several Florida utilities, since the change in the Department of Health policy, have stopped community water fluoridation. Notably, close to home here, Longwood and Lake Mary voted in February to stop community water fluoridation. I believe those were both unanimous votes. A couple weeks ago, I read that the state of Utah is the first state in the country to ban community water fluoridation. In Tallahassee currently, there's a Senate Bill 700 that's been moving through committees. that would effectively ban community water fluoridation. Their utility groups are working with the legislature to change the language to make it maybe less open to varying interpretation, but that would be the net effect of that legislation. Can you advance for me? All right, thank you. A few brief operational considerations I wanted to touch on. In Seminole County, we get our water supply by pumping water from the Floridan aquifer. The naturally occurring fluoride ranges that we see in that in the Floridan aquifer range from 0.15 to 0.3 milligrams per liter. That's naturally occurring in the aquifer. The U.S. EPA and FDEP that I mentioned previously, the primary and secondary drinking water standards, their standards, and these are maximums, we can't exceed these. There's a primary drinking water standard of 4 milligrams per liter. If we exceed that, there are likely resulting penalties. There are health concerns with those concentrations. The secondary drinking water standard, if we exceed that, we're required to notify our customers and let them know that the water supply has those concentrations of fluoride. All right, a few more brief operational considerations. We have, again, 5 water treatment plants. The fluoride systems at those plants will be needing significant R&R over the next several years. I estimate those expenses at about $500,000. On an annual basis, we spend approximately $100,000 for the chemicals and the monitoring related to fluoride. The American Water Works Association identifies 3 sources of fluoride for community water fluoridation. We use what is by far the most common, that is hydrofluorosilicic acid, and that is a byproduct of phosphate fertilizer production. Just wanted to touch on a few brief operational considerations, and that concludes my update for the board. I'm happy to answer any questions if I can.
Great, thank you very much. I'll go to the board. Go to the board for any inquiries. Start with Commissioner Lockhart.
I have a handful of questions, being kind of data-driven. Great presentation, lots of information. Of course, I always want more. Sorry. One of the things that I think everyone is learning in our community through this conversation, and it's a good, healthy conversation to have about overall public health. It's a public water system. But we supply Seminole County utilities is what we're talking about today. We're not talking about any of the municipal utilities. We're not talking about any private utility providers. It's just Seminole County utilities, right? I just want to get that on the record.
Well,
That's correct.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's what we have say grace over.
that's correct.
Okay. And so do we know what percent of Seminole County's population of 480-some thousand people get their water from us and not from someone else?
So the Seminole County utilities, for the people that are on community water supplies, we are about 30% of what is pumped out of the Floridan aquifer to provide water through community water systems.
Okay, so there's a bunch of people in this community on wells.
Correct.
That aren't, okay, so they wouldn't be getting any additive fluoride. I think one of the reasons I'm thinking about that is because this has been really juxtaposed against the lower income communities, and that's where a lot of the concern is about them not having adequate dental care, and would this be furthering concerns there? But in learning more about this, Utilities, Inc., who's a private utility provider in the county, who does not put fluoride in their water, has not put fluoride in their water, serves many of those lower income pockets of poverty. So those communities have not been getting access to community water fluoridation anyway. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I would add to that, the city of Castleberry, to my knowledge, has never added fluoride, and Winter Springs discontinued over 25 years ago.
Okay. So Winter Springs, Utilities, Inc., Castleberry. What about Sanford?
I believe Sanford and Altamont Springs are continuing to fluoridate and looking to see if there are changes at the state level.
Okay. So my non-scientist brain was curious about the comparison of Lincoln Heights which is a Utilities, Inc. water community, which does not receive fluoride, and Midway, which does receive Sanford water, which has fluoride, if there is a marked difference in what we see in, and I'm not asking you to have this answer, this is a peek inside Amy's brain, right? Do we see a difference between the kids who are growing up in Midway and the kids who are growing up in Lincoln Heights, their oral health, their dental health? And that's a question for the health department, right? And so I'm thinking about all sorts of different ramifications. I have all sorts of different questions about it, but I keep coming back to the fact that it's the health department who's overseeing the public health needs and making recommendations to us. We're not the public health experts. We're just the people who sell the water. So I wanted to ask a couple of those questions. Do we have any of that data? Have we looked at those comparisons, or have we done any of that type of parsing of data?
I have not, and again, I spent a fair amount of time just looking at what information is out there.
Sure.
And I couldn't find that type of information.
Okay. And I didn't expect that you would, no is a perfectly acceptable answer. I'm just curious if we've looked at that yet. Okay, that's all I have for right now.
Commissioner Constantine?
I think we have a lot of people on both sides of this issue that are here to speak, and so I'm willing to listen first.
Commissioner Valari?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, Johnny, thank you and your staff, if you had any assistance from your staff, so thank you for the research. I mean, it's quite obvious that this was needed back in the day, whenever that day was, and you went back to World War II times. I would think that we would have updated it back then, since then, but we haven't. You also said that the county started using it in 1988, correct?
That is according to DEP's data.
Okay.
They track it.
Was there a vote by the county commission or by a board to do that?
I don't know. We did work with commission records to try to find that kind of information. We could not.
Okay. Sorry to hear that, but okay. I mean, as many people we do hear from, and we do hear a lot of people talking about this, as many people as you hear for it, you'll hear maybe even more people against it. And I, for one, for all the information that I've seen, all the additional products that are being put out there with fluoride, I don't know why we're continuing this. I really don't. But if we want to continue to process this, we can, but I'd be one to help try to remove this from our water supply right now. Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Herr?
It was probably a year and a half ago, I asked how much this is costing us, and I've had an interest to get rid of it since then. Quite frankly, I think absent of absolute proof that it's not dangerous, we need to remove it. And the fact that if you want to think about the potential of harm in the impoverished communities, think about the potential of a neurodiverse child in an impoverished community and the inability of that parent to advocate for that kid. And I can't fathom it. And I've lived that life, and so take it out. And I would love to make this motion when it's time.
So my perspective on this, thank you, Commissioner Herr. I am no scientist, I am no expert, but I pride myself in doing as much research as I possibly can. I put this in the category of evolving science from the standpoint of there was a time and a point in history where this was good practice, proper practice, based on the science at that time. As science develops and time moves along, like many things, take cholesterol levels in humans, by example. At least to my knowledge, in my day, it's changed 3 different times.
Yours is way too high, by the way.
Actually, it's actually too low, believe it or not. But I eat a lot of chocolate. And so we have to be open-minded enough to understand that as time goes on and science develops, we're going to learn by default newer things or more things about what's happening. It's just like the dioxane, 1,4-dioxane that we've been talking about. You know, the EPA had certain levels, and now it's becoming an issue, and science is determining that it's something we need to look at, closer in our water supply. To Commissioner Lockhart's point, I think the numbers I saw, and tell me if this is right, we've got 40,000 customers that we deliver water to. Is that correct?
That's a good approximation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, we don't know how many people are in each household, but if you just took 3, that's 120,000. If it's 4, it's 160,000, a quarter of our population. We've got a great deal of our population, as it was already pointed out, is on their own private well systems. I can tell you that I raised my family in the rural area their entire life on a private well without fluoride, and none of my children ever developed any kind of issues with excessive tooth decay. They used across-the-counter toothpaste, didn't receive any supplements from the orthodontist or their dentist. So if you take those things, from my perspective, and the fact that we are telling the public that we follow federal and state guidelines, and we just heard the Florida Department of Health is saying it should come out of the water. It's sort of a no-brainer for me, so I would be on the side of removing this from the water supply as well, would be my direction. Commissioner Lockhart.
One of the questions that I had for the county managers, because we've been talking about this individually for quite some time, is if we have an opportunity to work with the health department locally on they have a dental program.
Right.
If we were to ask Dr. Johnson, what would help you most delivering improved dental services for our low-income community? What would you want us to do? How could we be helpful to you rather than deciding on our own what it might be? Maybe it's an additional contribution to their dental program. I don't know what that would look like. And I understand that our utility fund is an enterprise fund, and funds that we would give the health department would be from the general fund. And I get all that. But it seems like we need to be asking additional questions about how we can continue to be helpful if we're concerned about the dental health of those in lower income communities. And I remember as a kid, and I don't know if they still do this. I think they did this with my kids too. But you go to the dentist, and you sit. They have the tooth-shaped foam thing, and they squeeze the liquid fluoride, and it was always a terrible flavor. They'd ask you what flavor you want, and you're like, I don't care. It's gross no matter what flavor you pick. And you sit there and you just drool. That was fluoride, and they'd tell you, don't swallow it, don't swallow it, don't swallow it. And I remember as a kid thinking I was going to die if I swallowed that. I'm like, well, shoot, if I'm not supposed to swallow it, why'd you stick it in my mouth? But anyway, I remember vividly as a kid what those fluoride treatments were like, and I think my kids had the same ones. And if there are kids in our community who need access to that dental care, albeit gross, as memory serves, let's talk about how we can help doing that other than having everybody have to have it in the water. And so I don't know, Mr. Gray, if you had a chance to talk with Mr. Johnson or not.
And thank you for that. And as I've spoken with all of you on several occasions regarding this, but that was an interesting proposal that Commissioner Lockhart brought up to me. So I thought, and to answer your question, no, I have not talked to Mr. Johnson about this, but I think it's something that we could. We have our upcoming budget work sessions with our outside agencies coming up next month in May, and I thought I could start working with him and that he could make that a part of his presentation to the board, what the current program is, what he has, and if there are any requests that he is making from the state to maybe expand his dental program that he has. Right. So I could definitely make that request to him.
Well, to my recollection, the last report we received, they talked a great deal about their dental program. Yes. That we were already funding.
Yes.
Helping fund, correct. But if you just look at it from a practical standpoint, I think the numbers we just saw, $100,000 worth of material and $500,000 worth of O&M on equipment, $600,000 buys a lot of toothpaste and buys a lot of health care, maybe through the health department. So maybe that's a way to look at it. Commissioner Herr.
I really don't want to go down, I think that's a conversation for the budget discussion. I don't want to go down the path of assuming, with lack of data, that there's a need to start handing out free toothpaste.
Sure.
Or whatever it may be. The dental health is about taking care of your teeth, just like physical health is about eating the right things, drinking the right things, moving your own body. This is about personal responsibility. What I don't want to do, I think Commissioner Lockhart's suggestion of if we're creating a gap, filling the gap, we need to know that there's a gap, but I don't simply want to assume, in case Dr. Johnson is listening, Mr. Johnson, whichever it is, we don't have $600,000 that we're handing over to increase the dental program. That's not, I think, where we're going.
Sure.
But if there's an identified gap, and it would have to be identified through data, then maybe.
And I don't disagree. That's a totally different conversation.
That sounded different to me.
Than today. No question at all.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing that I'd like
Mr. Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I'd like to add is, Johnny, the one thing you didn't talk about is that back in the day, in 1988 or even earlier, not many people drank bottled water. Now today, there's more and more people drinking bottled water. So if there is fluoride in the water, more and more people using what they're getting out of they're purchasing from other sources and not our source. So that's another piece of the equation as well. Because I can tell you how many times you go to the grocery store and you'll see people leaving Publix or whatever supermarket you go to with cases of bottled water. And there's a lot of people doing that.
Commissioner Lockhart.
Of course, now they're saying we're not supposed to drink anything out of plastic, right? Because then we have microplastics, and it's the equivalent of eating like 15 credit cards a year or something. I don't know.
Yes.
Reverse osmosis. Does that remove fluoride from the water? Do we know? I could have Googled that probably and not bothered you to ask.
Yeah,
This came from the street
I'm
from
not
the fountain.
positive of it. So I mean, is this something that we would look to try to remove the natural fluoride? Is that?
No, I'm thinking if there are people in this
At home.
community who don't want fluoride in their water, and they live in an area where the system is putting it in whether they like it or not that reverse osmosis is an inexpensive solution, but would that remove it? Would they have the ability to control it at their point of entry with a reverse osmosis system?
Yeah, I honestly don't know about the home filtration, like the capability of removing fluoride. I can find that out and get back to you.
Okay.
My quick survey of constituents when I ask, do you drink your tap water or do you drink bottled water? And almost without exception was, we drink bottled water. We use our tap water to make coffee or tea or Kool-Aid and things like that.
Coke.
But, right, we drink bottled water. So, that's the input I've had. Well, before we go to public input, is there anything else?
Google says yes.
Google says yes?
Google says yes.
Put them on our oath, let's get them up here.
So I do have a question for the county attorney, if I may.
Well, here's my question. It sounds like by the dialogue that I'm hearing up here on the dais, there is a majority of the commissioners that desire to remove fluoride from the water supply. Is that a fair analogy that I'm hearing up here?
That's what I'm hearing.
Before we, folks,
But, Mr. Chairman.
hold on.
But, Mr. Chairman, yes, I think I can read and account numbers, but I also think that there are people here that want to speak on it, both pro and against, and I think that's a lot more important than just us deciding before we listen to the citizens. I'm sorry, but I just believe that very strongly.
And I think you've jumped ahead of where I was going, but
Okay.
I hear you loud and clear, but I haven't got there yet.
Okay.
Commissioner Lockhart, did you have something?
Only that, I think it's important that the public knows that we have received hundreds of emails on this topic, so this will not be the first input we have had from the community.
Right, correct. Right,
Both
exactly.
for and against, by the way. This is remarkably like COVID. All of you have your own scientific sources that are accurate and support your position.
Well, folks, please do not yell out. You'll get your opportunity. Please
Mr. Chairman?
have proper decorum and respect for the process, if you would, please. Commissioner DeLaurie.
The question I had for the county attorney is very simple. Since this is under the county manager's report, and it doesn't say that there's action, can we take action on this today, or do we need to agendaize it for a future agenda item?
Agendize it.
Well, you can take action on items that are not agended at all.
Yeah, I understand.
And this is on the agenda.
I'm asking you
It's
for
not
the
a work,
public.
I'm answering your question, sir. It is not a work session. It is a, discussion item. I think you can take action on it if you want. The guidance, the Sunshine Law guidance recommends against taking action on things that are not on the agenda altogether. There may be a concern that maybe because this is a discussion item, that part of the public wouldn't think you would vote on it today. But, I can't predict what everybody's thinking. But the answer, the short answer is you can take action on it today if you wanted to.
Okay. Any other questions for the attorney? Seeing none, we'll go to public input. So here's how this works, everyone. 3 minutes per person. We will call those that are first in favor of keeping fluoridation in. If you've got them sorted, you have too many to sort, you just want to call them one at a time.
One at a time.
Okay, we'll just call you up one at a time. Here's my ask to all of you. This is your time to have 3 minutes to tell us your concerns. If a speaker before you has already said almost the identical same things that you're about to say, please show some compassion and courtesy to your fellow speakers. Once we've heard it once or twice, we don't need to hear it 25 more times. We're going to limit this to a maximum of 1 hour of input. Once that hour has expired, I will come back to my board and ask for direction. So please, as compassionate as you may be on the topic one way or the other, please give us your input, but limit it to something that has not already been indicated or stated here today. Would be very helpful for the process. So let's call the first three, please.
Nicole King, Cindy Jury, and Jay Jury.
Doesn't matter. Come up one at a time. Tell us whether you're in favor or against. Please try not to be repetitive. Name and address for the record.
So my name is Nicole King. I reside at 25822 Pinehurst Street in Sorrento, Florida. I am against fluoride. Good afternoon. My name is Nicole, and I'm a registered nurse in the Central Florida area. I wanted to thank you for bringing this topic up. Being proactive versus reactive is always the right thing to do. Today I'm here as a concerned citizen who opposes the continuation of fluoride in the county's public water systems, because when we know better, we do better. As a registered nurse, we have a moral obligation and duty to speak the truth and provide factual evidence when educating our communities. So where I may have many feelings on this subject, I am here to provide some facts about the dangers of fluoride in the public water systems. Fluoride was deemed by the U.S. National Research Council as a neurotoxin back in 2006. Fluoride has been deemed a medical intervention typically prescribed by a physician. Natural occurring fluoride is not what is being added to the public water systems. As you heard, it is a toxic byproduct. Where chlorine is treating the water, fluoride is treating the people. Adverse health outcomes are widely documented when discussing fluorosis. Fluoride toxicity can occur when unregulated amounts of fluoride are consumed through one's body. Does boiling water remove fluoride? The answer is no. Does toothpaste bottles contain a label for poison control to be contacted if ingestion occurs? The answer is yes. The main focus is how removing fluoride will affect our community's teeth. Meanwhile, over 90% of the world does not use fluoride. Fluoride is described as healthy for the prevention of cavities. However, like we've previously discussed, so is access to healthier food, dental care, and safe, clean drinking water. Continuing fluoridation in the public water system is being done without the consent of your communities, which equates to a lack of informed consent. Once the treated water leaves the public water systems, you cannot in good faith measure how much your communities are taking in. And despite all the facts that I just presented, at the end of the day, removing one's choice to bodily autonomy and their right to medical freedoms should be the county's main goal. Who better to take this gentle advice from than a registered nurse who worked during an entire pandemic and saw firsthand what happens when you take the rights away of the individuals? Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Commissioner Lockhart?
As folks are giving their address, if they know who their water provider is,
To
it
your
would be
point.
super helpful if they could say, I'm a Seminole County utility customer, or...
Right. Thank you, because
Right.
that was what I was getting ready to say
was it? Okay.
Please tell us whether you're a Seminole County water customer.
Okay.
After you've given your name and address.
I still want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Just curious about the additional data.
Okay. My name is Cindy Jury. I live at 408 South Virginia Avenue in Sanford. I have Sanford Water. My doctorate is in child development. I would make note of the fact that the American Academy of Pediatrics still supports fluoride in public water. I will tell you from my personal experience, having worked with Migrant Head Start in parts of the state where fluoridated water was not available to our children, we saw extensive issues with dental issues. Migrant Head Start provided dental care for our children, so we were, able to track this. But it's fascinating to me because I know since coming and living in counties like Orange County and Seminole County where fluoride has been provided, I've seen nowhere near that level of dental involvement. We see children who have dental issues in school. This has impact on them. We see that dental issues can be a complication with later health issues as well. I think we need to be listening to informed science. And while I do understand that there are reports that were cited in the Utilities Director's presentation, I would also say that there has been a very strong growing anti-science movement against fluoride that is very also closely linked to what we are seeing with the anti-vaccination campaigns, that we now have measles, which was once basically eliminated in our country, now reoccurring in Texas. I think we need to really and truly look seriously at this. This may be an issue that the state is going to make the determination for us, regardless of what we as a county think. But I would really strongly urge the county to really seriously consider before you take the step of removing fluoride from the water on behalf of the children in our community who are, their parents may choose to buy toothpaste for them or not, but it's one of those where in the long run, our children are our future and they deserve the best. We have 3 generations of adults who have gone through who have used fluoridated water. And if the results were as dramatic and as extreme as people are talking about, we would have much greater data showing that there are significant problems. And I don't think the research that has been shown has really substantially proven that, which is why the American Dental Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and other leading children's health groups do not support removing fluoride from water. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, and I think it's Commissioner Lockhart for the popcorn. I appreciate that. And I don't think that's going to contribute to tooth decay. So anyway, my name is Jay Jury. Cindy Jury's husband. I reside 408 South Virginia Avenue, Sanford. We do get our water from the Sanford Water Utility. However, I'm very concerned about the county overall. County health has been a concern of mine ever certainly since I've lived in Seminole County. What I want to do this afternoon is make reference to something that Mr. Edwards brought up in his presentation, which was the decision of the state of Utah to discontinue fluoridation in their water supply. The American Dental Association put out a statement in response to that decision, and I'm not going to bore you reading the whole statement, but I've got about 2 sentences that I think speak to the concern. According to Brett Kassler, Doctor of Dental Science, who is the president of the American Dental Association, the most common chronic childhood disease is cavities. We know that when community water fluoridation stops, it's the children and the most vulnerable of our communities who suffer. We urge legislators and voters across the country not to make Utah's significant mistake and instead to trust credible data and science, which shows that ultimately fluoridating community water is safe, effective, and helps prevent dental disease. And the only thing I will add at this point to that formal statement is that, as my wife alluded to, dental health, oral health generally is not really the only consideration here. That what happens with people's teeth and what goes on in their mouths is very directly linked to their overall health. Cardiac conditions are something that have been looked at with regard to poor oral hygiene. So there's that also to be taken into consideration. And it's not, the ADA statement talked about children, so did my wife. I'm sure others will as well, but there are also other people. I'm a man in my mid-70s, but I'd still like to keep the teeth I have left. And it's been also shown with some of the studies that toothpaste and mouthwashes alone are not adequate to that, and that the minimal standard of 0.7 to 0.75 fluoride added to the drinking water is really about the most beneficial overall. So again, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. The next 3, if you get those queued, please. Ms. Dominique.
Nicole Owlett, Leslie Kirschenbaum, and Casey Ashbrenner.
All right, if you folks would be on standby, we'll get you through here.
Hello.
Good
My name is
afternoon.
Nicole Lett. I live up the road, 1417 South Oak Avenue. My water comes from the city of Sanford. You can add another 3 minutes because I'm also the regional leader for FIA Sanford, which is a local chapter of a national nonprofit organization for women, by women. We do outside exercise. It's always free. It's always peer-led. We have a lot of women in our group.
Let's try to wrap it up in 3 minutes, but go ahead.
Sure, but I'm also going to speak representing my ladies, and it's said in the documentation that I do have 6 minutes if I'm representing a group. So that needs to be
Did you bring
addressed.
proof of that representation? And are you speaking
I
on behalf
can
of
bring
that
it up
group?
on my cell phone if you'd like, but if you'd like for me to waste that time,
Is there anybody else here?
I don't know, anybody
with
else
you?
be on Facebook seeing FIA Sanford? Anybody? No? All right.
So is there
well,
anybody else that's going to speak on behalf of FIA Sanford?
No.
Okay, then proceed.
Okay, can we wrap my minutes back because we just wasted a lot of time?
Go ahead.
So we've been dealing with a lot of things being said here today. I'd like to address them. What I've said or what I had written is kind of out the door. First of all, I'd like to share that I have been here in this community since the late 90s. I have, as a medical massage therapist, as a holistic health coach and consultant, I have helped people in our community overcome a lot of health issues. I have been studying natural health for over 30 years. I have cured cancer in some of our community members when the hospitals could not. 20 years ago, I became the first person in the history of the state of Florida to take a patient from just points away from hospitalization for lead therapy or for lead poisoning to trace-free. When the Florida Health Department called me up and asked me what the doctor did, and I said the doctor followed protocol, which is absolutely nothing, and they'd retest in 30 days, they didn't believe me and they called me a liar because what I did is I looked at nutrition and I used the chelation and just simple biochemistry in the diet. So as I'm up here, I'm not just talking because, oh, I saw something on Facebook or I saw like the trend. I'm up here because I'm seriously concerned about the water that we have, what we're exposed to. Nobody's mentioning how when we put that water in our mouths, when we're brushing our teeth, it's going directly under our tongue. It's immediately being absorbed because it's sublingual. It goes right into our blood supply. Nobody's talking about how when we get in the shower, we're absorbing it through our skin. When you go out to eat and you order soup, there's fluoride in your soup. In 2017, the National Scientific Committee made a statement on NPR. You can go into your phone, you can find it on NPR. They made a big statement because all of our ethics have been based on former ways in which we have funded our studies. We no longer go for studies funded for the public. We now go for studies that are funded for the profit of the results. Our science is not what we think it is. I'm hearing people making comments that are completely unfounded. For fluoride? I'm sorry, I don't want fluoride in my foods, in my water. I don't want to have to take it when I'm taking a shower. You're taking away my ability to consent. Since I was a child, I have made all the choices that I could make. I was raised on a farm that was certified organic. I've done organic foods my entire life. I've done my own health. I've been told 2 months ago over the phone that I have cancer now. I have to take all of the toxins out of my daily routines, and that includes showering. You guys don't understand that when you take the fluoride in, it calcifies the pineal gland. The pineal gland is responsible for your not your cardiac rhythms, but your circadian rhythms. When you're under the stress of dealing with everything that everybody is dealing with in society today, it makes it even more detrimental. So that calcification of the fluoride, the calcification caused by the fluoride destroys our pineal gland. It destroys the body's natural ability to make melatonin to have the circadian rhythms function. So you don't have your sleep, your immune system is thrown off, and it actually causes cardiac disease. I also have mild cardiac disease. So I'm trying to deal with all of these things myself. I'm trying to remove all of these toxins out of my diet, which is already mostly organic. I can't filter it out of my air. I rely on you guys to take it out of our water system. You are taking away my ability to have consent over what goes into my body. You are taking away my ability to make choices for my own medical decisions. When you're talking about these kids that, their parents don't want them to have fluoride, so they're not buying them the fluoride toothpaste, but sure, let's take away parental rights and force that fluoride into these kids. That's insane. We forgot to take the time to do the Pledge of Allegiance when we started this meeting today. I hope that we don't forget the rights that we have as citizens of this country. Because my religion involves my body as my temple, and it is a violation of that when we continue to force neurotoxins and known carcinogens into our children, our family members, and our citizens. So there's so much more that we need to consider, and I strongly, strongly urge you to remove the fluoride from the water system. And thank you for listening to me, because another thing, we have people in my group that have elderly family members, and those that have dementia. The fluoride is affecting that, and it's making it worse. So even though we don't have all the answers, we cannot jump to the conclusions that science for profit is going to give us those answers. So thank you for the time, for listening. Please, please consider the future of these kids. And honestly, I can tell you that as somebody that is underprivileged, that would listen to welfare, you don't need to worry about that. That is not the issue. Oral health has so much more to do with gut health, with the microbiome, than it does with the fluoride. So we're looking and talking about the wrong things. So thank you for your time. Any of the ladies here, please come out and join us. FIA, we're all about supporting each other and being healthy. So thank you.
And let the record reflect the meeting did start today with not only the Pledge of Allegiance, but the prayer at 9:30 this morning. Next up, please.
Leslie Kirschenbaum.
Good afternoon. My name is Leslie Kirschenbaum. I reside in 110 Cedar Point Lane, Longwood, Florida, 32779, and I am a Seminole County resident. I use sunshine water that does not use fluoridation. I'm here to urge us to rethink a decades-old practice, adding fluoride to our water. While it's been sold as a dental health necessity, emerging evidence and common sense suggests it's time to stop. Fluoride's benefits are overstated. Modern research, like the 2024 Cochrane Review, shows fluoridation's impact on tooth decay has shrunk as fluoride toothpaste and dental care have become widespread. We're not in 1945 anymore. Most of us already get fluoride from brushing. Adding to our water is redundant, like putting training wheels on a bike we've already mastered. Second, there's growing concern about the risks. Study including the 2019 JAMA Pediatrics report link higher fluoride exposure during pregnancy to lower IQ scores. The National Toxicology Program's 2023 finding echo this, suggesting neurological harm at levels not far above what we use. Seminole County's kids deserve better than a gamble with their brain's development, especially when fluoride's dental perks can come from a tube, not our taps. It's about choice. Forcing fluoride into every glass of water takes away our freedom to decide what goes into our bodies. Not everyone needs it. Some face fluorosis, staining teeth from too much exposure. Others, like those with medical conditions, might want to avoid it. Why mandate a one-size-fits-all approach when alternatives exist? Seminole County has fluoridated water for over 25 years, but tradition isn't reason enough to keep it. Nearby Collier County and Winter Haven have already stopped, prioritizing health freedom and new science. We can too. The cost of fluoridation is about $130,000 annually in Pinellas, which could fund education or clinics, ensuring dental care reaches those who need it without medicating everyone. Let's lead with courage, remove fluoride from our water, give families control, protect our kids, and trust us to brush our teeth. Thank you.
Thank you. While we're calling the next one up, I've got 3 written forms I will read for the record. One is Heather Startup. Comment is, please do not get rid of fluoride in Seminole County's water. Evidence shows it is not cost-effective way to support our children's dental health, which is vital for overall well-being. Next is Robin Jones. Please remove fluoride from the water. Next is Jean Barwicks. I do not support the use of fluoride in the water. It is the toxic agent, and I was given the opportunity to, it says I was not given the opportunity to make a decision to have fluoride or not. For the clerk, please. Next speaker. And please, just a reminder, please do not try to repeat what's already been said, and try to keep it on the topic of fluoride in or fluoride out of the water system. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Casey Ashbrenner. I live in 541 Whitetail Trail in Chuliota. I am on a well, but my kids go to Seminole County schools, which means they're getting fluoride at school. And most parents know that when you have little kids, they don't brush their teeth before they have teeth. When they're really little, you give them unfluoridated toothpaste because of risk of swallowing it. So prior to brushing your teeth at 3 with fluoridated toothpaste, kids are only getting fluoride in utero, from drinking water, up until then, and through the food that they're getting prepared with water in your house, depending on where you live. So studies have shown that those kids are benefiting from the fluoride in water because they're not using fluoridated toothpaste from in utero, before even being born, up until 3 years old. There was a study in Alaska that checked kids who were exposed to fluoride in their tap water and then fluoride out of their tap water, because they removed it in 2007. And the kids, once that happened, the average went up to 1 more cavity per year per kid. This was a study of kids that were on Medicaid, so they could see what the difference was, and the incidence grew. What we know is that when you have too much fluoride, it causes mild dental fluorosis, and that's fine pearly white pearl lines and flecking on the surface of the teeth. and it causes the tooth's enamel to be pitted or discolored. So if our community was having a big incidence of too much fluoride in the water, we would know it because our dentist would be contacting the health department, and they'd be telling them that they see a huge problem in the water. The other thing I wanted to say is, Mr. Zembauer, you said that most people are drinking bottled water. Well, that's if you're affluent enough to have it. So a lot of kids whose parents might not be affluent, where they get bottled water, are only drinking the tap water, and that might be where they're the only place they get fluoride, where that would benefit it. I actually have a friend who has 5 kids, and their teeth are a mess, and she didn't have. In this day and age, there are still people who don't know the importance of teeth brushing and making sure their kids' teeth get taken care of, and the only way that their kids get fluoride was through the drinking water. And then one of the last things I wanted to say is that the gentleman who came up and gave the presentation at the beginning of this cited a study, so I pulled up that study. And that study is a study of 74 other studies. And in the 4th paragraph, it says, of the 74 studies, 52 studies were rated high risk of bias, and 22 were rated low risk of bias. So that study in and of itself has been criticized by other people as being not a good study.
You're out of time. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Elizabeth Lenz, Joe Flaherty, and Carol Hinshaw.
While the next one's coming up, I'll read 2 more comment forms. Natalie Lackner, our Surgeon General, Joseph Slapato, and RFK Jr. are opposed to the continuation of fluoride in our drinking water. There are claims that fluoride lowers IQ levels, increases the risk of neuropsychiatric disease in children. I agree and hope you will as well. Rita Hoffman, fluoride does not need to be in our water because it's dangerous chemical and a neurotoxicant that reduces, I can't read, intelligence in children, like toxic meth, like bad mercury and arsenic. This is documented in medical journals, Lancet Neurology. If fluoride is in our city water, we are battling it, and it's being absorbed through the skin, so drinking filtered water is only part of the solution. For the clerk. All right, yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Lentz. I'm the Senior Scientist for Population Health Programs at the American Dental Association. And I serve as their fluoride subject matter expert. But today, I am here as a public health dentist.
And your address for the record, please?
Oh, sorry. My address is 4750 Cove Circle, and that's Madeira Beach, Florida.
Okay.
But I used to live in Altamont Springs.
Oh, good for you.
Okay. But today, I'm here as a public health dentist. I've practiced for over 30 years, and I'm a longtime Floridian. For me, this is personal. I have young cousins and nieces and nephews throughout Seminole County, and I want to make sure that they continue to have the advantages of fluoride throughout their lives. My 3 brothers and I spent our early years in Illinois, and we're now in our, which is 90-something plus % fluoridated. We're in our 50s and 60s, and none of us have ever had any cavities. And I think that's true for a lot of us growing up in this generation. And just as a side note, all of us have doctorate degrees. My oldest brother actually has 2. So I just don't think it's it's really affected by IQ. But anyway, so before I came to work at ADA, I was a professor at University of Florida College of Dentistry. I was in charge of running the school-based dental programs for Alachua County. And we could easily tell the areas of the county where there was fluoride and there was not, because the kids in the non-fluoridated areas had much more cavities. And a lot of these kids had little or no access to dental care. One of the things to remember about Florida is that it has one of the worst dental access problems in the country, with 65 out of 67 counties having a dentist shortage. In Alachua, we saw children who had dental abscesses, they were in pain, and they were missing school because they couldn't find a dentist to treat them, even with Medicaid. University of Florida's Children's Dental Clinic is overwhelmed with a waiting list for kids waiting to be seen. Stopping fluoridation will only make this problem worse. Studies from Israel, from Juneau, Alaska, from Calgary, Canada, from Louisiana, from Texas, all show that where there is no fluoridation, tooth decay rates are higher and dental expenses are also higher. In Calgary, Canada, they stopped fluoridating in 2011, I believe, and after that, they saw an increase in cavities. The local children's hospital saw a 700% increase in patients needing IV antibiotics to treat dental infections.
Continue.
Oh, thank
Continue,
you.
go ahead.
And they saw a 78% increase in young children requiring general anesthesia because they had such severe dental decay. Recent studies have been misinterpreted as concluding that the fluoridation of water affects the IQ of children. The report that was cited, the National Toxicology Program, Fluoride and Neurocognition. If you flip to the third page, it actually says in bold print that it does not apply to community water fluoridation as practiced in the U.S., and I can show you that. It also clearly states that they did not review any studies from the U.S. The studies included were from China and India, which have very high naturally occurring levels of fluoride. So we use a level of fluoride that is very small. It's only 0.7 parts per million, which is the equivalent of 3 drops in a 55-gallon barrel. So we do know the toxic level of fluoride, and that is 5 milligrams per kilogram, which is like 2.2 pounds. So that means that a 165-pound person would have to drink over 120 gallons of water before they reach the toxic level of fluoride. So even if you're really thirsty, I don't think you're going to do that. And you actually drown before you could do that. So more recent high-quality studies from countries that fluoridate in the same range we do, like Australia, which is 90% fluoridated. Those studies do not show any effect. And in fact, studies that where fluoridation is at the level we use in the U.S. do not show any effect in IQ. So again, those levels of fluoride that show a problem are very high naturally occurring levels. Fluoride is found in all water and soil and air, and even with the advent of fluoridated toothpaste and rinses, it still reduces an additional 25%. So fluoridated...
Okay, doctor, we're going to ask you to try to wrap it up here.
Okay, we're wrapping it up. So fluoridated toothpaste works with the fluoridated water. So I would just like to say that drinking fluoridated water is recommended by every health professional association, the American Dental Association, the American Medical Association, American Academy of Pediatrics, World Health Organization, all of those. And I urge you to consider the health of your youngest and most vulnerable citizens when you make this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you get away from there, I may have a little point of privilege with this witness. You are with the American Dental Association?
Yeah, I just happened to be in town, and I wanted to speak because my nieces and my nephews and cousins all live here.
So one question that I've been pondering as I've done my own research, can you tell me why the ADA supported levels at 1.0 and then supported them being reduced to 0.7?
Yes, I can tell you that.
I'd very much like to know that.
So, and this happens in Australia as well. So they were fluoridating at a range, and basically they thought that people that lived in colder climates were not drinking as much water, and so they would need less. So they would need more fluoride, right? And so people who are living in southern climates where it was much hotter, who would be drinking more water, would need a lower amount. But with the advent of air conditioning, and everyone's in their air-conditioned cars and houses, and that kind of flattened out. And so that's why they changed it from a range of 0.7 to, I believe it was like 1, to dropped it to 0.7.
Right, okay, thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Joe Flaherty.
Next speaker, they're not coming forward.
Carol Henshaw.
I'm slow, just give me a minute here.
While she's coming up, I'll read a written comment from Julie Ann Reckner, it looks like. I would support getting rid of toxic fluoride in our tap water. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am, please.
Am I the last to speak?
Oh, I don't think so.
Get out of here. Thanks for the popcorn, guys. What a nice surprise.
Not unless y'all get real carried away.
I'm Carol Henshaw. I live at 660 Lake Worth Circle in Lake Mary. I'm also, thank goodness, on the Library Advisory Board. Thank you, Commissioner Constantine, and I'm enjoying this appointment very much. As we can see, there is a huge diverse opinions about this situation, just like every other thing that's happening in this country, that's from way out here to way down here. And what I say is not going to change anybody's minds. But somebody mentioned the other day, what's the role of government in supporting and protecting citizens? Let's look at the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, ensure the domestic tranquility, promote the general welfare. How can citizens enjoy these rights without ensuring the health and well-being of each person? I believe the government's role is to set standards for health to enable people to enjoy other rights. We can't be happy if we can't enjoy good health. Number one, I am 4 weeks in recovering from complete left hip replacement. And my surgeon followed the safety standards set by Joseph Lister in 1865 to ensure that his patients would not die from infections. It took 20 years for American doctors to support his beliefs. And I'm sure that Commissioner Constantine's mother is happy that she's recovered with no infection. I'm recovering with no infection. That's medical science. And I do not want us to go back to the dark ages. So let's don't make a knee-jerk decision about fluoride. If you're concerned about chemicals in your water, read a book called Tomato Land. You will never eat another tomato grown in the state of Florida. They fumigate the soil before the plant's in. They continue to fumigate the plants after they're growing, so they come out bright and red. So don't get me started on the food issue. In any case, I am concerned that we are starting to move back into the dark ages when it comes to medical science and our health. And the fluoride issue, somebody has already mentioned, I believe is an issue for the haves and the have-nots. People who can't afford to go to a dentist for fluoride treatments, those people, the teeth will rot out.
Right.
People who can afford to go to the dentist, they can preserve their pearly whites.
Ma'am, if you could wrap it up.
And thank you. I am for keeping fluoride. I'm 83 years old. My generation benefited from fluoride in the water.
Thank you.
Jessica Tillman, Tara Miles, and Cindy Holler.
Okay. If y'all would come forward and please try to be cognizant of the 3-minute rule.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Tillman. I reside at 124 Rock Lake Road in Longwood. I am against fluoridating our water systems. I am a mother of 4 school-age children. 3 of them were born in this county. We've lived in this county for over 10 years now. And we would prefer to have informed consent to fluoridate my children and myself and husband. We travel all over the district or the county, and we want safe water for our children anywhere we go. I will add in, I used to be a rep for an office supply company, and one of my clients was a prison system, and he called me one day he needed small tubes of toothpaste. I can't remember the size, it was a long time ago, but he needed a specific size of toothpaste because the prisoners will eat the toothpaste as a way to kill themselves. So it's a neurotoxin. It needs to be removed from our water systems, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tara Miles.
Yeah, I find better way to do it.
And her beautiful child.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Tara Miles. I'm here representing Seminole County's littlest activist. This is Micah Jude, and we are strongly opposed to fluoridation of the water sources. We would really appreciate it if everyone did their due diligence and learned about the neurotoxicity so that we can have a bright future for the future generation of our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful child. Thank you.
Cindy Holler.
Ms. Holler? And who follows Ms. Holler?
Robin Jonas. M. Evans and Celeste Terry.
Hi, I hope you can understand me today. I work with patients, so I picked up a little bug, unfortunately. So Cindy Holler, 1731 Beacon Drive, live in Sanford. My family actually has our water from a well. We do not add fluoride. I personally am against fluoride in county water, and I would prefer not to use it not to be exposed to it in restaurants and different places. I am actually going to read a letter from a local dentist. So this actually is Dr. David Edwards, and so here it goes. I am a dentist practicing in Sanford since 2007, the same practice that my dad started in Sanford in 1969. I have long been wearied of the risk of water fluoridation and strongly oppose its presence in our community water supply. I had hoped to be able to attend the meeting in person, but it falls during patient hours, so I'm sending my thoughts and concerns to you by email. So he said he did email it to the board and county manager yesterday, I believe, or a couple days ago. Below is an excerpt from the recent U.S. federal court ruling against the EPA where water fluoridation was deemed an unreasonable risk to the health of children, to which the EPA will be forced to regulate as such. The court finds that fluoridation of water at 0.7 milligrams per liter, the level presently considered optimal in the U.S., poses an unreasonable risk of reduced IQ in children. The court finds there is an unreasonable risk of such injury, a risk sufficient to require the EPA to engage with a regulatory response. One thing the EPA cannot do, however, in the face of this court's finding is to ignore that risk. Furthermore, the Cochrane Collaboration, a globally respected organization for evidence-based reviews, recently published a comprehensive review that found no significant difference in cavity reduction between fluoridated and non-fluoridated water systems. This undermines the longstanding claim that fluoridation is an essential measure for improving dental health. Additionally, over the past 2 decades, at least 10 studies funded by the National Institute of Health have demonstrated a concerning link between fluoride exposure and reduced IQ in children. These studies further validate growing concerns about the neurotoxic effects of fluoride, especially on young developing brains. I believe the evidence strongly supports ending fluoridation of our water supply. The U.S. federal court ruling on its toxicity in children should be sufficient cause alone. The Cochrane collaboration review shows questionable efficacy, and it is a significant expense to the county when it is widely and inexpensively available in topical forms should people choose to use it. However, people should be allowed to make that choice for their health themselves. And I just wanted to add that I've been listening to all the comments. I find this a very interesting discussion. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Robin Jonas.
How many more speaker forms do we have?
More than 15 minutes. A little over 15.
We're going to have to extend it.
Okay, well, we're going to have to
I'm going to make it really quick.
ask people to try to make it as quick as possible because we're running up on about a 15, 20-minute deadline before we're going to end this. Yes,
Perfect.
ma'am.
I'll make it quick. My name is Robin Jonas. I reside at 765 Whipping Crane Court in Sanford, Florida, and we use Seminoles water. I'm here today for myself, my family, and people that don't have a voice. I want you guys to really reconsider having this in our water because, well, for a lot of reasons, but it's not an essential nutrient. Our kids do not have to get it through our drinking water. They can get it, and like you were saying, through the dentistry, and we do have the health department if kids need a place to go to get dental care. So I think that we should be sending them there and not making everybody get that in their water if they so choose. You also made, Ms. Lockhart, you made the comment about reverse osmosis, and yes, it does take it out, but it is a very expensive option, and some people can't afford that. One of the things that I've been hearing are human sizes, where you live, how much you ingest, and none of that we can be sure of when we are drinking our water or when we're putting it in our water. You don't know what the household looks like. You don't know how much they're consuming or what age they are. And I think there is enough evidence, and I think all scientific research at this point should be looked at. Who's funded the study? Where is it coming from? Not just believe every study that's been put out there. One of the things, the FDA doesn't approve fluoride for ingestion, which obviously the toothpaste. So if you can't ingest it, then why are we swallowing it in water? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And then lastly, with what this gentleman said about saving the 500,000, the 100,000, that really could be put to good use to better our food system for our kids here in the county. So that's all everything else was already said that I was going to say. So thank you very much. Please
Thank you.
Please remove it from our drinking water.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It may be helpful as each of you come up, just after you've given us your name and address and whether you're a water customer of our water utility, just tell us whether you're in favor of fluoridation or not. If you want to add more, that's fine, but we're going to run out of time for some of these speakers, so please come ahead. Who's next?
Hi, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am Celeste Terry. I live at 7718 Scottwood Drive in New Orleans, Louisiana, and my water supply is Orleans Parish. It is fluoridated. I have benefited from water fluoridation for over 50 years. Orleans actually started fluoridating our water in 1974, so I have had the benefit of seeing that benefit not only in myself, but in my children and in my grandchildren. And I'm also a dental hygienist, so I have seen the benefit of fluoridation in the water within the patients that I serve, as well as in communities that don't have community water fluoridation. The question was asked earlier today what the data showed from the health department in Florida. And what I was able to locate while I was here in this room today, that based on the Florida Health Department in 2017 to 2018, 24% of the children in Head Start, ages 3 to 6, had tooth decay. I also looked at the water fluoridation that has been supplied in Seminole County, and you have over 80% of the individuals receiving fluoridated water, and then another 60% that are receiving adjusted water supply. Why is this important? Because the data in your county is also showing that 45% of the children that are from 3 to 6 years of age have tooth decay, and those in historic had incidence of decay at 32%. As a hygienist, we are prevention-oriented, which means every patient that sits in my chair, I'm educating them on the importance of oral hygiene at home, which includes brushing with a fluoridated toothpaste, and also regular visits to the dentist. But my experience as a hygienist for over 50 years has shown me not everyone goes to the dentist as recommended, not everyone brushes like they should, and not everyone can afford toothpaste. We do community outreach events constantly, and I can't tell you how many people come to our table to get a tube of toothpaste, some dental floss, and a toothbrush, and it is $20-25. We are in a position where our voices need to speak to the ones that have the least. And that's where I hope to be delivering that message today, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you today.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, and I'm in favor of keeping fluoride in the water. Thank you.
So I'm going to say this as kindly as I possibly can. I would sincerely appreciate, out of respect for the speakers that have yet to come, if you can shorten it up and tell us exactly whether you're in favor, not in favor, and if there's some study that you want us to know about that we haven't heard about today, tell us and try to make it short, because I want everybody to have the opportunity to speak. So please go ahead.
M.R. Evans, 848 Leopard Trail, Winter Springs. We don't have fluoride in our water. I vote for getting rid of the fluoride in our water. At the same time, I think we should make the effort to make sure that, as people have mentioned, that people get toothpaste and toothbrush. We can figure out a way to do that with $500,000. I'm sure we can. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your courtesy, and all the speakers, have both pro and con, have brought up a lot of good issues.
Thank you.
Douglas Cross, Gail Brown, and Stephen Slott.
And while we're waiting for those to come up, just so we're aware, I've heard a lot about the health concerns in Seminole County. Seminole County is currently the second healthiest county in the state of Florida, behind St. Johns County. Please, sir, let's move it along.
Doug Cross, 6221 Caldwell Drive, New Orleans, Louisiana.
And I want to ask you to wrap it up as quick as you possibly can.
I'm a community health dentist. I'm a dental director for a community health center. I've worked in public health for 43 years. I have a lot of patients from different sections, some that have drank fluoridated water, other communities that don't have fluoridated water, and there is a significant difference in the amount of cavities in those patients. My patients are pretty much all low income. They, like Celeste said, they have difficulty in even buying toothpaste. Louisiana is at the bottom of oral health. You know,
sir, I'm going to ask you to wrap up directly what we're doing in our community, not necessarily what's happening.
Well, what I'm going to say
in New Orleans.
is we're at the bottom of oral health, and we have one of the lowest fluoridation rates in the country. If you want to be that way, remove fluoridation, and you will see an increase in decay. I can guarantee that. And you'll end up spending more money to take care of that decay than you would to fluoridate the water. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to switch gears here real quick. How many speaker forms do you have left?
Okay,
we're going to prioritize Seminole County citizens first and foremost. So if you'd call the names, call them out. And if you're a Seminole County resident, I'm going to ask you to line up over here against this wall if you're one of the speakers, and then we will get to the rest if we have time. If you'd call those out, Dominic, real quick. Ma'am, are you a Seminole County resident?
I am not, and I will be short.
How short?
I promise you.
15 seconds?
Can I have a minute and 30?
Okay, stand by. We're not going to go there.
Mr. Chairman,
If you-
so I
if
only
you-
have
if-
two that are residents.
Pardon me?
13 that live here?
Yes, sir, only two.
Those
Okay.
two first.
Let's take those two first. Call their names.
May I just step back?
Just step back, yes,
Justin
ma'am.
Harvey and Sherry Johnson.
Mr. Harvey and Ms. Johnson.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for having me. My name is Justin Harvey, 1025 Hamlet, Seminole County resident. I'm a little shocked at how many people are here, but not from here, but either way, I think enough risk has been illustrated here. Thank you all so much for your comments. Common sense, personal choice, personal freedom, that is the way to go. So thank you so much for that. Let's see, let's just skip all this. People think there's dental benefits. Great. I think there's benefits to aspirin. We can't force it on people. End of story. Risks to the whole body. If it's good for your teeth, great, but we've got brain, thyroid, kidney, and bone problems. The Florida Department of Health and the Health and Human Services has advised against water fluoridation, calling it public health malpractice and, quote, insane. We now have the CDC has announced they are going to be recommending no longer promoting water fluoridation, with the EPA also going to reassess their guidelines. 30% of the state was on well water for decades. So I'd just like to point that out. The sky is not going to fall, folks, if we stop. Sky didn't fall in Winter Springs, and Castleberry's doing great. In closing, I do just want to read something from the Castleberry website and an email from the Winter Springs city employee. On the Castleberry website, it read, "No, the city of Castleberry does not add fluoride to drinking water. There have been many studies on the effects of fluoride, some good and some bad. Too much can lead to discolored teeth, bone brittleness, and even cancer." They go on to talk about how there's many other ways to get it, from toothpaste and mouthwash, and primarily the topical benefits are where it's at. We shouldn't be ingesting it. Winter Springs employee told me there has always been a lot of public opposition to fluoridation, and the consensus was that the public would rather have a choice of consuming this product in their dental products rather than have it blanketly added to water. We don't have to make this about teeth or even fluoride, like I said. This is personal freedom. Thank you for not deferring to the state. Thank you for being willing to make a decision quickly, and thank you, and let's remove water fluoridation.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. I am from Lake Mary, resident since 1987, Seminole County.
And your address, please.
172 Williams Road, Lake Mary, 32746.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Sure. I'm Sherry Johnson, and I'm a certified functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner. Fluoride is not fluoride, is not fluoride, is not fluoride. There are three main sources of fluoride. The fluoride added to drinking water is fluorosilicic acid, or the compound H2SiF6, or FSA, which is a byproduct of phosphate fertilizer production, which we know from an extensive article from the Ohio State University outlining where this came from. FSA is the most common due to its cost effectiveness and ease of use in large-scale water treatment. It is a waste product that is so toxic it is not allowed to be dumped into the landfills or released into the air, but is okay to be added to your water supply. Number two, the most common types of fluoride used in toothpaste, mouthwashes, and by dentists is sodium fluoride, or compound NaF. Number three, fluoride naturally present in groundwater is typically in the form of calcium fluoride, or the compound CaF2. This occurs when fluoride minerals dissolve into water from rocks and soil. As you can see, there are many types of fluoride. The most toxic is FSA, which is added to our water supply. If dentists use the same fluoride on their patients, they would have to apply it to people's teeth wearing eye, face, skin, and respiratory protection. Their patients would need the same protection. Yes, it's that toxic. OSHA warns that exposure to fluorosilicic acid, or FSA, can cause severe lung damage and burns and excruciating pain. There is a skull and crossbones on the packaging for fluoride. Are you aware that anything placed in the mouth, especially under the tongue or in the cheek, can be absorbed directly into the bloodstream through the mucous membranes? This is called sublingual or buccal absorption, and it's faster than digestion because it bypasses the GI tract and liver metabolism. More fluoride is not better. It is obvious fluoride is toxic. There's no informed consent to add it to our water supply, and people are not deficient in fluoride. Thank you so much for the conversation and for your agreement in getting rid of it. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Dominique, are there any more Seminole County residents on any of those forms?
No, sir, not in this stack.
Okay, this lady is here. Come on up. You will be our last speaker for this topic.
Oh, boy, the pressure. I thank you. My name is Gail Brown. I live at 17 Liberty Street in Concord, New Hampshire. My water system is the city of Concord, where I drink award-winning water that is fluoridated and wins an award every year from the Centers for Disease Control. I also drink your water when I have the pleasure to be here visiting, so just remember, a lot of us do come and also imbibe in that water. I'm going to make just 3 short statements. I promised him, and I will live up to that. Number 1, I know you all know, fluoride is naturally occurring. We don't agree on what that means. The reason I'm saying that is because naturally occurring fluoride comes from bodies of water. And so I've heard a lot of people talk about being on wells today, and they seem to think that it's flip a switch, the fluoride's on, flip a switch, the fluoride's off. That's not how it works. So I can tell you, if you're on a well and you haven't had your water tested, you don't know what your fluoride level is, but you got one. Okay? If you are on a community water system that does not optimize, you are drinking fluoride in there. You don't know how much. Well, you might if you read your water statement, it's on there. So other than the fact if you're on a community water system that optimizes, you do know your level, and it's going to be right around 0.7, okay? That's 1 point. But you're all drinking fluoride of some level in the water. Number 2, dental disease is caused by bacteria. Sugar, that's a part of the story, but it's bacteria. And we pass that bacteria from mouth to mouth to mouth. Saliva sharing is what we call it. Kissing, sharing spoons with the baby, drinking from a bottle. It comes from bacteria, okay? So it's not about bad behavior and not brushing enough and whatever. You cannot brush away dental decay, rotted teeth. You can't brush it away no matter how hard you try. Okay? That's statement number 2. And I think actually, there was one more thing I wanted to say. We talked about whether people can access toothpaste, and I'd like to point out that someone did say you can buy it for $1 a tube. That's important. But I can tell you, I come from New Hampshire. We have a very small population. Our hygienists tell me about families that share a toothbrush. These are families that can't buy a second toothbrush or a third toothbrush at the dollar store, okay? So if that happens in my state, I promise you it's happening in your county. So that's all I wanted to say. It's not what I came to say, but it's what I wanted to say, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, yes.
We have a request for a representative from the Florida Dental Association to speak. Would you entertain that?
Yes, go ahead. Come on up. Please limit it to 6 minutes max. Try to get me in at 2.
Less than that, yes, sir. Less than 6 for sure. Dr. Johnny Johnson, I am a pediatric dentist, and I am here speaking on behalf of the Florida Dental Association, 8,000 dentists strong. I rise in favor of keeping water fluoridation in place. I am a pediatric dentist. There's been questions about how fluoride works. And I will tell you that fluoride works in 2 separate ways. One is topically, meaning every time you use it, you drink fluoridated water, it gets into your cheeks. There is plaque on our teeth, whether we like you to have plaque on your teeth or not, it's there. Plaque concentrates fluoride next to your tooth, makes a little sandwich there. Helps prevent cavities from happening. If they start, shoves fluoride in the tooth and makes it stronger more resistant to cavities. The second way it works is by drinking it. Children under the age of 8 years old are developing their permanent teeth. When they drink fluoridated water, it gets into those developing permanent teeth and it makes them form stronger, just like I was saying, they remineralize in your mouth with fluoride in it. It forms a crystal called fluorapatite, which is much more resistant to cavities. In fact, the chewing surfaces of your tooth are much more resistant to cavities by having it during the time the teeth develop. You can never get that once the teeth come in. So it works in both ways. When you use fluoridated toothpaste, you get about a 25% cavity reduction. When you add fluoridated water on top of that, you get an additional 25%. I'll tell you as a clinician, it's more like 60 to 80% reductions in cavities. I have children. I didn't used to brush my teeth until I could scrape it off my teeth with my thumbnail. I've got a mouthful of crowns and root canals. My children have almost nothing. You'll get less cavities and less severe cavities with fluoridated water plus fluoride toothpaste. Now, I was born in '56, so I remember we had a little grocery store. So I remember when I was old enough to brush your teeth with Pepsodent because it keeps them yellow away or something. Just to briefly go through a few things, and I won't repeat what others have said. Fluoride in water and toothpaste benefits everyone, more so for adults than it does children, which sounds kind of unusual because we talk about the kids all the time, but we're adults longer than we are children. People who have this mouthful of crowns, and my mouth is dry as can be from medications I'm on, I am much more susceptible to cavities. I live out in the middle of Chiefland on a well. My well has been tested. I have 0. I use a 5,000 part per million fluoride varnish on my teeth or toothpaste to try and prevent cavities. I'm at high risk of getting them. I used to live in Pinellas County, fluoridated Pinellas County. I was in great shape, but I still had a ton of problems. I had almost 200 to 300 patient visits during my practice time. 40 years I've been a pediatric dentist. It's just something that absolutely we need to keep. And one last thing I'll finish up with is that no country, first of all, we're a bad business model. We're asking for less business, and no business does that. So it is that important. But no country in the world is stopping water fluoridation over the court case, over the National Toxicology Program, or the Cochrane reviews. Nobody, because those things do not rise to the level of science that we need to make decisions upon. Please keep fluoridation in your water for the health of everyone and this bodily health of everyone. Please do. I'll be happy to see you and answer any questions that you have as well. Thank you so much for hearing me out.
Thank you. All righty. We will close the public hearing portion of this.
Say something really quick?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Please sit down.
This gentleman.
Ma'am?
No.
Ma'am,
I just want to
you've already, ma'am, you've already spoken. I don't want to have you removed. Please sit down. Please respect the process. You may not agree. We all may not agree.
I just want you to
Ma'am.
know that they left a meeting to come here to educate us. The people that are not from
Ma'am,
here came
again.
from a medical meeting to be here. That's all I wanted you to know. I think we know. Thank you.
We get it.
There was a theme.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
So now I will close the public hearing, go to board direction.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Constantine, please.
Well, since I was the only one that didn't speak before about whether for or against, all I'm going to say is, we've got 10 people. I don't care whether they came from a meeting or not. If they're educated and they want to inform us, I'm more than happy to sit here until the cows come back, but we're only talking about 10 people in a half an hour. And I think they have the right to speak.
Okay,
and that's all I'm going to say.
What's the
I
flavor
hope
of the
that you
board?
all would. I hope that you all would allow them to do that.
Folks, please. What's the flavor of the board? Commissioner Herr?
I am the one, I'll own it, that leaned over and said we need to prioritize our citizens' opinions as opposed to people from out of the state. I really struggle with the notion that it becomes activist-related, and I realize that the situation is contentious because everything in today's society is contentious. But I will tell you you could speak for 3 more hours. You're probably not going to change my mind. I'll be honest about that. And so I have no interest in hearing folks from out of town regardless. We've heard from experts within the state of Florida, and the experts disagree. That's the issue. The issue is the experts disagree. And absent of true answers, we need to take the most cautious perspective. And the most cautious perspective from my position is, do I want kids with cavities, or do I want kids that have negative impacts for the rest of their life to potential other vital organs, including their brain? That's what the decision is for me.
I'm not interested in hearing anymore. I mean, I've had phone calls, I've had emails, I've had conversations with folks, I've had dentists call me, I've called dentists, I've called orthodontists, and I gotta be quite honest with you. Even the dental community themselves are split.
Divided.
Which way? Some are, yeah, you gotta do it, and others are like, no, no. Again, we could fill a room full of people that could give you all kind of scientific tests of why it should be fluoridated, and you could fill the same room with the same number of people that would say why it shouldn't be fluoridated. But again, for me, it's, once again, we had fluoridation that started in the 50s, and in 2015, there's a reason why it was dropped from the level it was originally to the level it is today. And I bet you, if you waited 10, 15 years, 20 years, it would drop even more. So I have no need in hearing more about this.
Okay,
Sir, look, I'm gonna ask y'all one time and one time only, please be courteous. You don't yell out, you don't scream out, or I will have you removed from the chambers. We're just trying to get through this.
Mr. Chairman.
We know there's a lot of people that are very passionate on one side or the other. Please respect the process. Commissioner, please wait just one moment. The public hearing portion has been closed. The debate is amongst the commission. Please let us do our job.
So,
Mr. Delory, did you have something?
It was Commissioner Constantine.
Mr. Constantine?
Thank you, sir. I'm going to make this as quick as possible. I think the 10 people that are here, whether they came from outside of the country or outside of the state or outside of the city, have, I believe that most of them are educated individuals, that dentists. I heard that they were coming. I was waiting to hear from everybody, and I think it's rude of us not to hear from everybody. But since we're not going to do that, I'm just going to say that I'm old school. I came when we, you talk about 1949. It was a little bit after that I was born. But
not much, right?
Not much. But the fact of the matter is that I can see the benefits of fluoridation in our systems that we've had, and I've heard anecdotal evidence, and I've heard dentists who teach at the University of Florida, go Gators, and other places that have come and said, the benefits of it. I have seen the FDA strongly endorse fluoridation. I see the chapter of American Academy of Pediatric Medicine strongly endorse fluoridation in our system. I see 3,000 studies in the United States and abroad as compared to other studies that, may or may not have scientific benefit, saying of the safety and the benefits of fluoridation. There are a lot of things that the people in the United States and the state of Florida say that for the protection of the citizens make you do. Let's talk about texting and driving. Let's talk about back seats for children. The fact of the matter is that the state and federal government are talking about it. I understand that our Surgeon General has come out against it. I understand that Robert Kennedy has come out and against it. Great. Florida ranks last in the nation for the percentage of children who see a doctor in the past year. Last. I will err on the side of what I think is the best safety and health for the citizens. And I will tell you that I will go with science over I will go with anecdotal evidence. And I'm saying this because you all have said something. I think the vote's going to be 4-1, but at the same time, I don't believe we should be voting today because I don't think that, as our attorney has said, based upon the sunshine, we did not say we were going to vote. We were saying we're going to have a report. But if you are inclined to vote, I will vote no from taking it out of our system.
Commissioner Lockhart, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah. Gosh, this is so eerily reminiscent of COVID. And everybody truly has their science on their side. And I am a personal responsibility person. I'm also a let's do what we can to help the kids who need to get access to the dental care that they aren't getting from their families, which may or may not have anything to do with fluoride being in their water, because I will tell you that there are a lot of other variables involved in dental care, speaking to a room full of dentists, whether it's how often you suck on a lollipop as a kid, or the kinds of treats you're eating, or how many goldfish you're putting down as a toddler, or there's a lot of other things involved.
What's in that baby bottle?
What's in that baby bottle? I remember a family member in Indiana who used to do up Kool-Aid and put it in the bottle, red Kool-Aid. Oh, he loves it. Ah, great. And whether or not there was fluoride in that kid's water, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure sucking on the Kool-Aid in that bottle wasn't helpful. So there are a lot of other variables involved in health and wellness. And I do believe in personal responsibility first and having the ability to say grace over what that means to you and your family. I am very interested in talking to the health department locally and finding out what our local needs are, and if there is a gap, seeing how we can help fill that gap. I do not want to do harm to any additional children than what we think may happen from removing fluoride from the water. Although I really genuinely am serious about having a very direct compare and contrast opportunity right here in our own community between Lincoln Heights and Midway. I would love to see if we can work with the health department on that data, because those are two very similar demographic communities, one with and one without, within miles of one another. And for me, if something were to come back and we were to say, wow, the teeth of the people and the children in Midway are fabulous, and the teeth of the kids in Lincoln Heights are rotten, everything else being equal, the difference is the fluoride in the water. If they were to come back with that disparity, I would be willing to have this conversation again. But all of these other studies and everybody else talking about stuff happening in, God bless you, whatever state you came from, we are Seminole County commissioners. We have been elected by Seminole County citizens, and we are making decisions for our community. And that's what's the most important thing to me today. So I'm sorry if you came here from another state for a convention and you wanted to speak and weigh in on what's happening here, but we'll just have to disappoint you.
Commissioner Herr.
Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion to remove fluoridation from the Seminole County water supply.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
Passes 4-1. Thank you all for being here today.
Mr. Chairman, can we take a small recess, please?
5 minutes.
Good for a break. Let's take a quick 10-minute break. Make our way back to the dais, please.
they might,
Thank you. One of my favorite places, by the way.
I'm out in the middle of nowhere with some internet.
For now.
Yeah, Johnny?
It's only a matter of time. I'm with you.
I drive through there, 27 going, I was a senator. I was a senator.
now we do.
For 18 years. So I would drive out, you might have remembered my name. That's how I would drive out. My last year was 2010. But I go up there, I'm president of the county, all the counties. And I go there all the time, go through there all the time. In fact, what's his name? Commissioner Meeks? Yeah.
Commissioner Delary, district reports?
Sure.
You're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Talk to you later. Take them all time.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Commissioner Delary, you're up.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve and appoint Charles Davis as the representative to the Seminole County Port Authority for a term of January 2025 through December 31st, 2028.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Oh, wait a minute,
I
Commissioner
just have a question for my own edification. I think we changed the process. Darren and I had this conversation during lunch.
I knew this was going to come up.
And perhaps I'm confused, so set us all straight.
This is a district appointment. Clarify, Ms. Dominic.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So the district, so we are actually we're rewriting and ensuring that everyone has the same process and procedures. One of the things we're looking at and I was going to visit with each of your offices, we have 3 types of appointments, as I know it. Dominic, correct me if I'm wrong. We have district appointments that a district commissioner will recommend someone for their district, and then we'll bring it to the board for a vote. We have board appointments that's the one that I understood that you all wanted it before it made it to the agenda, so you could review what what the board appointments were and had the applications and qualifications. And then the third one, we have chairman appointments. And so we are ensuring that we have the procedures for each. We are writing those. We're getting those together now. We're going to visit with each of your offices to make sure it is everyone understands it, or if there's any changes that the board wants to make to it. So this one, as I believe, is a district appointment.
Mr. Chairman, as a district appointment, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Charles Davis as representing District 1 in Seminole County Port Authority for a term of January 2025 to December 31st, 2028.
And there was a second on that, but there was still discussion, I think, taking place over here.
Yeah, there was still discussion. The discussion is not about the appointment, Commissioner Delary. That's not the question. The discussion was, because this is the only time we all get to talk, that discussion sounded different from the initiated conversation that started. I heard, which could be me, that didn't matter whether it was a board or a district or whatever the third one is.
Chairman.
Chairman's, thank you. I'm sorry, Chairman. But that it would all be socialized the same way. And so I'm asking for clarification around that before it gets all discombobulated as it flows through this system.
So my opinion on that, because I've seen this, and I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. If it's my appointment and I'm the district commissioner to make that appointment, there may be people that have differences of political opinions on this board with that individual or have had some personal run-in with that individual. That should not come to bear on that district commissioner's appointment. If that district commissioner believes that's the individual they want representing their district, I'm not even sure why we need a second and a motion to vote on it. That's just me speaking, rawly. Commissioner Lockhart?
Well, aside from any personal issues, there are qualifications that have to be met for certain appointments. And what I've noticed is sometimes a commissioner will just appoint someone regardless of their qualification. For instance, if the appointment is for a general contractor, or if the appointment is for a citizen, a consumer on the contractor licensing board, and the commissioner, it is a commissioner appointment, appoints a contractor to the consumer seat, somebody's got to catch that. Now, if staff doesn't catch it, and one of us sees that this person, if I was a commissioner, I would want someone to say to me ahead of time, hey, just so you know, that person isn't actually a consumer, they are a licensed contractor. Now, if you're saying as a commissioner, I don't give a rip if they're qualified and meet the qualification or not, I'm appointing who I want, that's a different conversation we need to have about whether, because these boards are this board's board, not your board or my board. So that's why we vote on them, because these are boards representing the entire board, even though we have individual appointments to them.
And Chairman?
And, go ahead, I'd like to respond to that.
Okay.
If that's the case and that's the sentiment, then I would advocate, let's not have district appointments. Let's have board appointments only, because that's really what it is. And who's going to set the bar for who and their qualifications? What you believe are the right qualifications may be different than what I believe the right qualifications are.
Well, you're either a consumer or you're a contractor.
And you can be both.
No.
Why not?
Because the whole point of having a consumer on that board is that they are not a licensed professional regulating themselves. They are just
But you're
a
assuming
consumer.
that contractor, what you're really saying is that contractor has the inability to separate their professional beliefs from their consumer beliefs.
There's a reason they're consumers. Okay, yeah, that would be definitely a difference, a philosophical difference of opinion on what the purpose of that board is then.
I don't think that was.
So I have my hand up again.
Yes.
Well, it's an example that I
In the,
have.
I know you did.
Commissioner Herr.
Getting into specifics.
Commissioner Herr is
So
recognized.
I think that,
You're not doing that.
so I think that debate is a debate as to what is meant on that specific board.
Do that. Just for
I was just using that as one example of a
I
time
know,
when that
I understand.
happened.
I was just trying to wait until I actually did have the floor. That's a debate on that specific board. I will tell you that I do look at it a little bit differently. I actually welcome this board's input, and I don't think I would get input with regard to the political affiliations and all of that stuff, but I don't know all these people that are coming through the pipeline. I can do superficial research on them. You all may know them. I may know people in the healthcare space that you all don't know. I think the benefit of that, without to be able to do that and say, you know, through the team that move it forward, or it's going to be up for discussion in a public setting, that's a different environment. I think there's work to be done on this. I just wanted to point it out. I have no problem with this candidate. It's just that, so I was trying to do it before you made the motion, Commissioner Talari. It's not about the candidate, it's about the process. And I still feel like we're not aligned even on what the task is that you have.
And thank you, Chairman. And so one of the takeaways that I received from the retreat was to take all of those procedures, rewrite them, visit with your offices, and then ensure that we have one seamless process that we have. And that's what Dominique, myself, Tricia, and Melanie are doing at this time. We're going through all that, and we'll be meeting with you all soon.
Godspeed, and I'll call the question.
So I'm not quite done speaking about this.
Oh, my.
Since
Should I
it's been
remove
brought
the
up.
question from the table?
No, you got a motion in a second. Let's
Okay.
keep that.
So,
As part of that, I would very much be interested in the application process and
point of order.
specific.
The question was called.
I think out of respect for the candidate, how about we vote on the candidate and then we continue the discussion
Motion
during
and
your
second on the
district
floor.
court? Yep.
Any further discussion? Which we were having, but we're stopping.
Because the question was called.
And now we are going to take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Seeing none? Okay. Anything else, Commissioner Large?
Yes, if I can continue, Mr. Chairman. This is the month of April, I know you all know that. And month of April is also Child Abuse Awareness Month. And I just want to let everybody know that 1 in 5 children will be abused by the age of 18. That's the one reason why I paint that one fingernail blue. Excuse me? Just 1 in 5 will be abused by the time they're 18. That's the reason why every April I take the liberty of painting one fingernail blue every month. It'll come off the first day of May. I just want everybody to be aware of that. And if you do spread the word, greatly appreciate it. I know we all will never tolerate anything like that, but want to make sure that everyone is aware that April is Child Abuse Awareness Month, 1 in 5. Please do something about it. God bless you all. End of my report, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lockhart, District 4.
So I'm going to phone a friend and ask for some assistance in giving my district report because there are some financial details related to the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission where I represent this board, and I'd like for Lori Bailey Brown to come up and talk a little bit about the tentative budget that the CFCRC just approved at our last meeting. Our board will have an opportunity to say grace over that budget at our next board meeting. And so I think it's really important for me, representing this board, to make sure that you all have information that you know that you feel well informed before our vote at the next board meeting. So Lori, could you just kind of bring us up to speed on where we are right now?
Sure.
Yeah, just hold on.
Thank you, Commissioner Lockhart. I'm Lori Bailey Brown, the Chief Financial Officer for Seminole County and Director of Resource Management. Beginning at the end of last year, the 5 Chief Financial Officers from the local funding partners, Orange, Osceola, Seminole, Volusia, and the City of Orlando, came together to help the CFCRC develop a bank account and protocols for banking. With that, we were reviewing the current year budget to put in place and helping with those allocations, collecting the funds from the funding partners and distributing to FDOT in accordance with the locally funded agreement. In our biweekly meetings and that evaluation, as of last March, it became time to prepare the next year's budget for the CFCRC. So that group worked together to pull the information provided from DOT to prepare the FY26 tentative budget. That budget is based on the revenues, expenditures, and operating details provided, and it totals $63.4 million. Seminole County's share is $11.5 million. There is a slight increase from the second year as laid out in the funding agreement, primarily attributable to a $2 million contingency that's added in. I presented that tentative budget to the CFCRC last Wednesday at their board meeting, and questions were discussed from Osceola and Seminole counties regarding the contingency as well as carry forward and insurance. We're preparing the agenda item for the April 22nd meeting on that tentative budget, and I'll be meeting with each of you to go over the details and answer your questions in preparation.
It is really important to me personally that I know that you all are fully informed about next steps, because this is the first year's budget that the CFCRC is taking the full responsibility for setting the budget and moving toward the eventual transfer of operations of the system. So I sort of feel like we're going to be setting the tone this first year, and all sorts of train analogies like a runaway train or stay on the right track or all of this different kinds of terrible puns have been coming to my mind about this. But one of the things that is going to be a challenge and will probably involve renegotiating the local funding agreement for next year, not even this year's that we have yet to approve, or that we have all yet to approve, is that our fiscal years are not aligned with DOT. The local funding agreement is not aligned with the fiscal year. So we have essentially our fiscal year, DOT's fiscal year, and the local funding agreement all having 3 different renewal times, and that is going to cause a little bit of a hiccup moving forward. I don't blame anybody for that. We've just not done this before. We're kind of building the plane as we're flying it, but that's something that we've identified as a potential problem. What DOT has committed to, Secretary Tyler did commit to, which I think is going to be very helpful, is that when they finish their fiscal year June 30, they will find, hopefully, as they have in all prior years, they have not expended all of their budgeted funds. So we are hopeful that there will be a carry forward and some unspent funds that might negate the need for this additional $2 million contingency that's being added. But they won't know that until July 1st. We have to approve this before July 1st. Our budget is until October 1. So he's committed to coming back for a true-up for us to let us know how they finished up so that we can, in each of our budgets moving forward as we do our budgeting in September, our public hearings and what have you, account for that difference. So I'm laying all that out because if you're paying really close attention, you're going to see that the numbers are going to change. And I don't want somebody to say, well, wait a minute, it changed, what happened, why? Because we're trying to get it right. So it's not because of anything shady or shifty. It's not because it was miscalculated. We're just not all trued up at the same time. Does that make sense? Anybody want clarification on that?
No, that sounds good to me. I'm looking for a full...
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask the Commissioner a question?
Sure.
I like your explanation, on board with it, but what is the increase from this year till next year? I guess I didn't hear I heard the number, but it was quick.
Yeah, so the main difference is a $2 million additional contingency that is being recommended that we put into the budget.
Is that each funding partner or?
Total.
Total, okay.
Total. There's also a $250,000 for insurance that they're suggesting that we add. This is DOT's recommendation kind of to us and what they think we're going to need to run the system. And one of the things that was explained, and please feel free to jump up, Lori, and correct me or chime in, for the last 10 years, contingency has been the really large pocketbook of the Florida Department of Transportation. If there's been a problem with the system, if there's been a hurricane, a washout, something that's required some type of major, DOT would cover it. And we, as our small little group who has just opened up our first bank account, don't have a contingency fund. So that's their argument for that. We have some really good, robust debate back and forth whether or not that's necessary at this point, but we'll be able to determine that better July 1st. There was also an increase in contracted support, and we're getting some more clarification from DOT about what exactly is being added in that one particular line item. And we're getting some more reporting on the $10 million that the partners put into escrow for catastrophic events. So we're still getting some more details. That's one of the reasons it was pulled from the agenda this last week.
And again, Commissioner, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you've been working on this more directly than the rest of the four of us have. So in your opinion, this is in line?
I would like to see some additional modifications.
Okay.
We've communicated that to DOT.
Could you let us know in the future what those modifications could be?
Yes, absolutely. I'm thinking that 1.6 is going to come down, and I'm hopeful that we're going to see this modification at the end of their fiscal year, and I think the 250 for insurance might be able to come out, but we'll see.
Okay.
And they're right, all five of us have to agree, right? That's the other challenge with this board.
This type of vote, because
Gotta be
it
unanimous.
has to be unanimous.
Got to be unanimous. So,
And so, Lori, just to make sure, you're going to give each of us a full briefing on this. That's what I'm looking forward to. Good.
yep.
Including the question that was just asked by Commissioner Delory?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to bring it to you all publicly so that people know that we're talking about it.
That's fine.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Constantine.
Thank you, sir. I want to start maybe in a little bit of a happier mood that we've had in the last couple of minutes. And just on March 29th, you can go ahead and put the picture up if you will. On March 29th, a young man that many of us have, we're not all of us, actually, all of us, agreed for his Eagle Scout award, that we would allow him to work on a Medal of Honor memorial project and put it at the Criminal Justice Center. I wanted to congratulate Melanie, who worked with him directly, but this young man was remarkable. There was Commissioner Delory was there was over 200 people there. Both of the immediate families had at least 9 or 10 representatives.
Easily.
There were people from the Navy Annex of the University of Central Florida, Army military, that spoke on behalf of both of them that were actually in or around the actions that these two Medal of Honor winners during the action, the event that allowed them to win it. And in fact, and this is, I think, is remarkable if you think about it, since the Iran/Iraq/Afghanistan, since 2001, the wars, there have been less, I think it's 20 or 21 Medal of Honor winners. 2 of them are from Seminole County. One of them is African American and one of them is white. Both of them gave their life for this country. And this young man made it his point, along with his family, to raise the money, to work with Melanie to get it correct. And you can see it's beautiful. It is beautiful. And everybody there, when you take on a project, you all have taken on projects, and you know that you always upset somebody. Nobody was upset. Everybody loved it. And I wanted to give him, and I was hoping he could make it here, but he's not, and his father is. But I just wanted you all to know what a great job. And of course, there was a number of Eagle Scouts and Girl Scouts and others that were all there. And I will tell you that this young man has applied to the U.S. Military Academy.
Naval Academy. Is it Naval?
Military Academy,
okay.
Army.
Okay.
And I am, for one, going to, to our senators, send a personal letter. But I think it would be, I think he would be very much appreciative. And I know I would, if we all did as a board, sent a letter, a Medal of Honor, to this young man, so that potentially he could get into the U.S. Military Academy. And I just want you to know that it really was uplifting to see a young man like that. He was the moderator. He was the one that brought everybody up. He put the whole made sure that the families, he even called the families prior to doing this to get their approval. And so Mr. William Watts is someone that I think is exemplary. And as I said, personally, I'm going to do it, but if you all could be with me and we could send one letter as a county commission, I would appreciate it.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, it is a motion, yes.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to talk about this for a little bit longer, if you don't mind, Commissioner Constantine. The 2 individuals that received the Medal of Honor, the story is truly amazing. In the future, if there is a potential to do a road naming, we should try to recognize those 2 individuals with the ability to use their names on a road in an appropriate location, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so you want to ask staff to look at the current protocol for that and bring it back to us and some kind of process to get it done?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
And I would suggest that we look for roads in the area that they grew up.
Sure. Okay. Good with
I think the
everyone?
family would really appreciate it.
Okay.
I also would say, at the time, I think there was, our own Veterans Department was there, and there was a concern about one of the grave sites and things about putting the Medal of Honor, and they are working on it for one of the candidates that did not have the proper identification on his grave site. So I know that they're doing that too. Secondly, and again, this is a little bit more interesting, go ahead, or another interesting thing. All of you tease me sometimes about things, but I had the occasion to speak to a bunch of Girl Scouts, 1st to 4th grade. I will tell you, they took me through the ringer, but that was a goodie bag that they all received that our department has. And if you haven't seen those bags, they're nice canvas bags with all 7 cities of Seminole County on it. They loved it, but what they loved even more, and Guy and the others put also some goodie bags with it, but Beatrice, my aide, put together this coloring book that I suggest all of you might want to look at and use if you go out to children's, small children, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade. They loved it. They also loved those little sprays that we give. I got sprayed twice, so during the whole thing. But they loved that too. But this coloring book, I'll pass it around.
It wasn't Narcan, was it?
Can we all have one? But I will tell you, no, it was hand sanitizer. It was but I would suggest to you that you look at it. They really, they liked it. And yeah.
Our pictures are in here.
Yeah, they loved it. And I gave them tests, like which district goes with which commissioner. And the one that did the best job got a little stuffed animal that I had brought with me. And, so they really loved it a lot. And
who runs your county? Look at whose picture isn't on the page.
Board of Directors.
Who did that?
Actually, no, Darren approved it before we set it out.
I
You
did.
did.
You just didn't know you did, because your picture's
you
not on
did.
there.
You approved the first one.
You approved
I
it.
saw it. I saw it. I saw it.
Okay. So I just wanted to let y'all know, they were out of Wakaiba Cove.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
Great job, B.
Thank you. Also, I did want to let you know that at the Calno meeting, all of the commissioners were in fully support of many of our legislative issues. They're the same and have the same concerns, and it was good to see that we were all aligned with our other cities, or with our cities in that. I had the privilege of attending the 12th Annual East Altamont Unity Day, and I know that Commissioner Lockhart, I think you did that last year. Wonderful event. One of the, a lot of people attending. One of the things that I thought was real exciting is one of the young men that came here to add his support was a Lake Brantley graduate who also happened to be an All-American at Lake Brantley, a linebacker who's now playing for the University of Central Florida in football. And he was there, and he was running a lot of the shows and everything. And he had to leave to go to spring practice.
Oh,
But he went there for that in the morning and early afternoon. If we don't know, PBA is having a meeting tomorrow with all of the city managers. Tomorrow also, the MPO is having the 2045 Transportation Plan Work Session that Commissioner Delory will be running, and I think that, anybody that would like to attend, I think it's very important that they come out, but it will be a work session. And I think our county manager mentioned the Citizens Academy. We have one on the 12th for the fire department. I believe we also have one later on economic development, and then the next one is going to be, in the next couple of weeks, environmental and utilities. We've talked about this before, but the German American Society is having its Spring Fest this Saturday, and the Central Florida Zoo is doing the Brews Around the Zoo, and everybody knows how much fun that is and can be. Lots of good food and other things.
Brews.
brews and other things. Yeah. Brews. I'm not going to start trying to go through all of the liquor stores. Sure.
IPAs, lagers.
In addition, I just wanted to also mention that we, where did I miss? I'm sorry. That Career Source is having a meeting next week, and that our own art committee has now narrowed to 9 different projects that they're going through the analysis of and will be bringing forward to us. And you know, I mean, the level of information and content that they are putting together, I think, is extremely professional and exciting for us. And with that, Mr. Chairman, just want to wish everybody a wonderful tax day and an Easter Sunday and coming up in other for all of our citizens. And also, I think it's Passover for our Jewish friends.
Yes.
And so with that, I'm finished.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hurd, District 5.
All right. On the 4th of April, I attended the Central Florida Commission on Homelessness Leadership Council retreat. It's the first time that I've attended that. This is a new board assignment. And there were a couple of interesting facts that came out of it, some lively discussion generated by a Seminole County commissioner.
Shocking.
I think they're all now getting used to it.
Yeah, right.
1,000 seniors in Seminole County are one rent increase away from unaffordability. And the fastest growing folks that are vulnerable to not being housed are young parents, often two-income households that have a child and then cannot afford to pay for childcare, lose the income, and then become housing vulnerable. So I thought those were 2 interesting facts. I did raise the issue that those were wonderful facts, but nothing that we did in that day was going to address this specifically, so I thought I would bring this back here. This definitely, the 1,000 relates to our community. I think there's probably things that we can just focus on locally, just to put that in your awareness. So I'm not asking for anything, no one panic. Rescue Outreach Mission did have Rescue on the River this past Saturday night. It was sold out. Sponsorships were, I think, all sold. They had 119 guests, which is the number of people that are typically housed on a night. That was the limit of the event. And it was at the old Wolfies, which I don't know the name of the place. I didn't even know the thing was open, but it was a beautiful venue for an event. I would tell you it was a great place to be and a very successful event. And that is all I'm going to talk about.
Really?
I told you I'd be quick.
Okay, great.
I had to make up some ground here.
Amen. Well, I'm going to take a little more than, but anyway. The Sheriff's Office has reached out and asked me to ask the board to authorize me to write a letter of support on behalf of the Sheriff's Office for a grant appropriation request for therapist services for the Juvenile Mobile Crisis Program, which was previously funded by ARPA dollars. It's time sensitive. They've got to have it by the end of this week.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you. I'll get that done. I'll work with staff on that. The CFX Sanford Airport Extension meeting was April 2nd. Well attended, a lot of good comments. As Commissioner Herr will tell you, they've pared it down to 2 and 2A access points, and there'll be upcoming meetings to further sort that out and so forth. So that was fairly well attended. A lot of the same concerns were voiced that's been voiced since the beginning of all that. April 5th at the mosque was the Orlando Halal Eats Food Festival Bazaar and food vendors. Great event, well attended, a lot of folks there, a lot of different types of foods, ethnic type foods that, quite frankly, I don't eat most of them, but I was able to pick through some of them that I would eat, but a pretty neat event. And the 2045 Transportation Mobility Plan public meeting that was held on April 7th, 6 p.m., was fairly well attended. And of course, reminder, April 10th, it'll be held again at the Oviedo Mall in the community room there. Also, it was already brought up, the Seminole County Citizens Academy Fire Department is being held on April 12th at 10 a.m. at Station 11 in Altamont Springs. April 24th is my sponsored fundraiser for the Boy Scout Golden Eagle Dinner at the Weston Lake Mary at 5:30 p.m.
What date's that again?
I would encourage you to attend if you're able to.
When is it?
What date?
April 24th, 5:30 p.m. at the Weston Lake Mary. City of Oviedo, 100-year celebration is going to be celebrated on April 26th at 299 Center Lake Lane, Oviedo, from 3 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. And there's going to be a lot of activities, including fireworks, laser show, and all kinds of things that they're going to be doing to celebrate their 100th anniversary. Most of you, or all of you, should have gotten an invitation to your office. It looks like that. If you haven't seen it, ask your aides.
100th
It came through. And then very, very neat program happened in my district at the Watermark Vista Willow Winter Springs, which was called A Dreams Come True for seniors that are in assisted living. And a elderly woman, one of her dreams was she had a dream to ride in an antique Volkswagen Beetle. And so one of the car clubs made arrangements to go over, pick her up, and take her for a ride. She was thrilled to death. So we've communicated to them if they have seniors that just have something that's on their bucket list they want to do, then we can help them to let my office know, and then I'll populate it and see if anybody in the community can help them as well. Outside of that, the only thing I want to rehash was on the board appointments, district appointments. I think that's going to be an ongoing conversation that we need to have. And I think we need to determine, are we going to, what is the vetting process and how deep is that vetting process going to go? Are we doing background searches? Are we doing business recommendations? Are we doing background searches on their employment? And my fear is, and I'm not necessarily saying any of that is necessarily bad, but as you all know, we have enough trouble finding candidates to volunteer for these boards. And discussion that Commissioner Lockhart and I was having, I'm not a fan of automatically disqualifying somebody because they have worked or are working in a particular industry. Albeit, some people are unable to separate their personal from their business, et cetera, et cetera. So I think we need to really dig down into that, and I want to know more about that, because if I'm going to appoint somebody, by example, as a citizens, to a contractors board, I would want somebody that would have some kind of contractor's information or background, who arguably is somebody that's a consumer as well. So if we're going to go down that path, I think we're going to have to develop some consistency of what is the vetting process and what's going to happen from that aspect. So as you dig into that, that'd be nice. The final thing is, I would like, as I look around at the business community and see the things that are going on, I would like to understand the business tax receipt situation. It has now been done away with in several of our sister counties. I would like to see consideration of us looking at what it's really costing this county to collect that and consider doing away with it as well. If I can ask staff to get that information available for me and share it with the fellow commissioners.
Has the statute changed on that? Because the
No.
last time we asked for that, the former county attorney opined that that was not something legislatively possible.
Yeah, it's been done. Volusia's done away with it, Lake's done away with it, but the state still holds, but gives us the discretion is
Sure.
what I read it to say.
Yeah, I can check into that, all that, and the legal aspects of it.
Good. Outside of that, that's all I have. Thank you all very much. Commissioner Lockhart?
I do think we need to revisit the situation with the appointments, and just so that, I want to make sure that I communicated clearly, not trying to dictate a commissioner's choice of an individual's profession on a particular board. The board I was referencing specifies a contractor, a pool contractor, a plumber, an electrician. So all of those professions are accounted for on that board.
Sure.
This was supposed to be a specific consumer seat. So I just
Sure.
don't want anyone, members of the public who
Right.
are watching, to think that, I don't want professionals on the board. The board has those seats accounted
Sure.
for. I'm sure you were being hyperbolic in talking about background checks and what have you, but I do think that there is some merit to having an opportunity for each of us to see who is going to be coming before us and not be surprised, because as we have learned recently, there are things that we may be aware of about a particular candidate that may not be the best time for them to be in a particular position. And I think it is more courteous and professional for us to share those messages through our staff and give time to get back to a commissioner, rather than airing those things publicly and not necessarily shedding the best light on those involved. So my concern is not to thwart what someone wants to do just for kicks and giggles, but to preserve the integrity of the boards and preserve the integrity of this board, because they are representatives of us. And so that's whatever we can do to help in that scenario. That's my desire, not because I have a particular beef with anyone, but I just.
And that's why I want to understand what the vetting process is going to be. If we're going to develop one, what is it going to be? So we all understand that. But I'm also not in the same school and train of thought, if we want to use the contractors board by example, just because all the quote professions on the board have already been filled, in my mind, does not exclude a pool contractor who also would hire an electrician or somebody else as a citizen, not being able to sit as a citizen. That can be viewed in several lenses, but I have a firm belief that the right people are capable of discerning their personal versus their business expertise, and some can't.
Guys, that committee hasn't met in 12 years. So let's not use
Yeah,
that
but we're going to get the band back together.
That's a whole
Let's not
nother.
use that
We're going to get the band back together.
There was
I'm too
reasons
old
for
to waste my
that.
time on this. Let's just get something done.
All right. So let's try to move to our non-agenda portion of the agenda. We are going to open up for public comment on items not on the agenda today. Do we
They've all
have
gone.
anybody here to speak on non-agenda items?
No, sir, we do not.
They're all long gone.
Wow. The bus left?
Yes.
Amazing. Fantastic. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, we
You got your
will
last popcorn?
dismiss this meeting. Thank you all very much.
We got one more popcorn, folks.
Oh.